stand by for reset. Races net terminated. Return to normal communications state.
This is Kilo Echo 5 Yankee Tango Alpha. I'll be clear.
Thank you very much. NT5 TM.
Attention calling, come again?
That was just me. I wanted to thank you for taking the first shift I had to help Aaron, NT5 TM.
No worries, no worries. Thank you for setting up the... I got the tone set up, but thank you for taking care of the pagers and the phones. I appreciate it.
Very good, very good. NT5 TM clear.
Okay, if I watch it clear.
KF5, JHA, Skynet.
W5FC.
Hey, Chaz, we have wrapped up the races net. All the warnings are gone. You're clear for Skynet and T5TM.
Once again, this is KF5, JHA for a signal check.
You're very noisy, Chaz, and 5BB.
Okay, let's try this. This is KF5, JHA. Any better?
Maybe a small amount. You still got a lot of noise, and 5BB.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
This is Kilo Foxtrot 5, Juliet Hotel Alpha. If anyone needs to use the repeater before we begin the 9 p.m. session of Skynet. Alright, I'm going to try this with a weak signal anyway. This is KF5JJ, I'll be your control for this. This is ARC Skynet.
Chaz, you're falling in and out of the repeater. You're too noisy, and 5BB.
I'll try this again. KF5JHA.
You sound great now, N5BB.
Oh, that's great, because I tweaked a few things. Okay, Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. since January of 2012 concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in the topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the pro sign break and your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic at this time? I think the storms have mostly cleared our area. This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from net control. That would be me. And stations are reminded to ID at the end of their transmissions. This weekly net operates on 146.88 megahertz with a private line tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible, and I'm monitoring Echolink over there. We've got about, 10 people over there right now. Echolink, using the W5FC-R station ID or the Echolink node 37247. Tonight's topics and astronomy charts, pictures, live audio and video links are all available online. Just go to w5fc.org right now for the complete list. Remember to tell others about this popular net. All amateur operators are welcome, and you need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. This is a 90-minute long, well, we might run a little bit long. I don't know. I have 20 pages of stuff, is what it says on here. And it's structured in several parts. General announcements, Texas Astronomical Society events, National Space Society events, discussion topic of the evening, space exploration, space history, what's up, Constellation of the week, space launches of the week, recent astronomical discoveries, visible satellite passages over the next couple of days, astronomical Q&A, and a 73 round. Wow, that's a lot to do in just a short time. Okay, all amateur licensed radio operators to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. All right, let's check in with low power and short time. Now, I don't do this very often, so I'd ask you to use your call sign phonetically and do it slowly so I can write it down. So please come now with your name, call sign, and where you're transmitting this evening from if you are low power or short time.
November 5, Whiskey Oscar India, William, Allen, short time.
Kilo Bravo 5, India, Mark in Dallas, low power.
Kilo, Quebec, Delta, Quebec, Eric, Dallas, heading northbound, mobile, short time.
This is Whiskey Bravo number 4, Mike, Foxtrot, India, WV4MFI, Ted, Dallas, low power, long time.
Okay, we'll stop right there for the moment. I've got William, Mark, Eric, and Ted. William's from Allen, Eric is mobile, Ted is in Dallas. So we've got our first 4 sign-ins. Do we have any more low power or short time check-ins? Please come now with your call sign, your name, and where you're transmitting from. Thank you very much for being slow so I can write this all down.
Kilo Golf 5, uniform, Kilo uniform. David, Mesquite.
Okay, hearing no more. Thank you, David, for checking in. I guess now would be the time for general check-ins. We'll get to Echo Link in a few moments. But for general check-ins, what I'd like you to do is come in groups of 3. After 3, stop for a moment. Let me verify those 3, and then we'll continue on. So right now, come with your name, your call sign, and your location in groups of 3. And your call sign phonetically, please. Thank you.
Bill, November 5, Bravo, Bravo, Irving.
Tony, November Tango 5, Tango Mike in Dallas.
Kilo Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey, J near Weatherford.
Okay, thank you for those 3. Bill and Tony and Jay. I've got Irving, Dallas, and I think Weatherford, if I believe. Is that where you're from, Jay? Weatherford?
Near Weatherford. KG5 BTW.
Thank you so much. Okay, the next 3. Come now with your call sign, your name, and your location you're transmitting from.
Whiskey Alpha 5, Papa Charlie Romeo, Larry, Arlington.
Kilo 5, Kilo Tango X-Ray, Kelly in Quinlan. Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brendan DeSoto.
Thank you so much. I've got Larry in Arlington. I've got Kelly in Quinlan and Brenda in DeSoto. Thank you so much for your check-ins. All right, the next 3, please come now with your call sign, your name, and your location, please.
This is Whiskey 5, Golf, Uniform, Sierra, Gus for Northeast Dallas.
This is Kilo 5, Alpha, November, Papa, Allen in Dallas.
November 5, Oscar Foxtrot, Clay in Mesquite.
Thank you. So I've got Gus. Gus, I always like your call sign. It's hard to understand what your name is with your call sign. I'm just kidding. He's in Northeast Dallas. Alan, you're in Dallas. And Clay, you're in Mesquite. I also am in Mesquite as well. All right, come now, the next 3 with your call sign, your name, and your location, please.
Kevin, November 5, Kilo Romeo Golf, Farmers Branch.
This is Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray, Tom, Louisville.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Alpha Papa Lima,
Patrick in Dallas.
Thank you so much. I know Kevin and Tom. Patrick, welcome to the net. Okay, the next three, please, with your call sign, your name, and your location, please. We're up to 18 so far.
This is Kilo Golf 5 Whiskey Victor Lima, James and Carrollton. Kilo Golf 5 Zulu Mike Golf, Joe in Arlington.
Okay, it seems to have slowed down. James in Carrollton and Joe in Arlington, thank you so much for your check-in. Okay, now, I have a whole list of people I see over here on Echolink. If you would like to check in via voice, phone, then you can do that now. I'll allow lots of extra time so you can check in. So please come now with your call sign, your name, and your location if you are on Echolink.
Zero, Mike, Bravo, Charlie, Shane.
And Bethany, Blue Springs.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Papa Delta Sierra, Billy and Sherman.
Alpha Alpha 5 Alpha Hotel, Robert and Richards.
Well, thank you so much, Shane and Bethany from Blue Springs, and Billy and Sherman, and Robert and Richardson. Okay, if you're on Echolink, please come now with your call sign, your name, and your location. We're up to 23 people so far. Okay, I guess we've sold out. I'll take check-ins from any mode, radio, Echolink, smoke signals. I'm not sure if I can read those, but come now. With your call sign, your name, and your location, if you'd like to check in right now for Skynet. Yes, I've got you, JJ. I'm checking a whole bunch of other people in. John, K5 IOU, Kevin, I already checked you in. I think I've got most of the people on Echolink somehow, some way. Sean, I've got you checked in. I'm writing all of you down, so I'm up to, let's see now, what am I up to? About 28 people so far. All right, let's get started. Do we have any general announcements for this evening's set? These can be ham, astronomical, space, or of general interest to licensed hams. Come now with your call sign if you have an announcement. Hey, maybe I've scared some people off. Okay. The AMSAT Radio Amateur Satellite Group has 2 nets available to Dallas residents on Tuesdays. evenings at 8 p.m. Central Time, you need to have Echolink installed, and you need to be registered for Echolink. You can find the net under Groups and AMSAT. Also, a live audio link is available on their website, amsatnet.com. This net originates from Houston, Texas. The Dallas AMSAT net is every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater 147.14 megahertz with a private line tone of 110.9, positive offset. But I understand that this net may be moving soon to this repeater. More information on that later. This part is, oh, hang on. I was reading part of the script that I didn't need to read. Okay, let me talk about some of the DARC nets. On Monday nights, so the first Monday of the month is Ham Fixin's net. On the second Monday of the month is the Ecom 101 net. On the third Monday of each month is the Ham Fixin's net. I guess that would be the second helpings, yeah. And on the fourth Monday of the month is the Geek net. I believe that if there's a fifth Monday of the month, there is a surprise net. Of course, on Saturdays, we have TechNet. That just ended a little bit ago. And between TechNet and Skynet tonight, we had a Skywarn net, Racy's net. That was kind of interesting. The TechNet is from 7 to 8 p.m. on this repeater. And, of course, we've already talked about Skynet. That's what we're in right now. The ARRL net, National Traffic System Training net, is every night on this repeater at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. All are welcome to check in on any or all of these nets. Okay, right now I've got a cue on this script that says something about an Afterglow movie that's going to happen about 10:30-ish, and this is weird. Okay, Tom, can you help us out? KC5ICX, can you help us out with this?
Well, Chaz, of course I can. Yes, let's see here. Tonight's Afterglow Movie Net. Yes, we watch the best and worst of movies, science fiction related, and this one falls into that category. Tonight's Afterglow Movie Net information is as follows. Dr. Keith Ritchie was a dedicated NASA scientist and avid ham radio operator. He had the distinction of having earned the ARRL Worked All Planets Award, and he wasn't shy about telling this to his colleague and friend, Dr. Kurt Taylor. Taylor rolled his eyes. He could see Ritchie was about to make a big brouhaha about his latest contact. Ritchie launched his announcement. Kurt, I made contact with Zontar on Venus. It was a 599 contact. He's coming to the house for an eyeball QSO. He's peachy keen. Did I also tell you I got a new rig? Ritchie droned on as Taylor thought about happier things, such as doing his taxes. Join us for another craptacular Zontar, the thing from Venus from 1966. This movie looks like it came from 1866, but that's okay. Tonight at 10:30 p.m. Back to World Control. This is KE5ICX.
Oh, that's right. I guess I'm World Control tonight. I forgot about that. Okay. Thank you so much. That'll be an interesting thing to talk about. Hey, are there any additional check-ins to Skynet? If you haven't checked in now, please come now with your call sign, your name, and your location.
Kilo 5, Juliet Delta Whiskey in Coppell, Texas.
Well, John, you left off your name, but I think I know who you are. Thank you. Welcome from Capel. You're in your south home rather than your north home. Hey, we had some nice weather for you, just for you this evening, I think. Okay, I'm supposed to talk about the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas. Last night was the monthly meeting of the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas. The speaker was Joe Peace. He talked about the radio astronomy. Isn't that interesting, radio astronomy? And also a little bit about some recent discoveries in black holes. He even showed us an image that had just been released 24 hours earlier. I thought that was really cool. We all did. And it was a fascinating talk on that. So the next meeting of the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas is on September the 25th at 7:30 p.m. It'll be another virtual meeting on Zoom like most meetings nowadays are. We are not going to have a speaker for that meeting, but instead we're going to have a swap meet. Now, I'm not sure how this is going to work virtually, but Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas has had a swap meet about once a year, yet we've never done it virtually. It'll be an interesting thing. That's when members, of course, bring their stuff, their equipment, unwanted, gently used equipment, and sell it at a meeting. So club members will receive an email link to the meeting, and hopefully TAS will resume having face-to-face meetings and public observing sessions that we used to have on almost every Saturday night after all this shelter-in-place is over. If you want more information about the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas, go to texasastro.org. Does anybody need any fills or missed any details? Come now with your call sign. JJ, you're doing a countdown. You're one off. It's only 12 more to go to get to 42. Okay, the National Space Society events and activities. We have somebody on here. Let me see. Can I think of his name? Oh, yeah, I think his name is Bill. N5BB. It's all yours. Tell us about the National Space Society of North Texas.
Okay, Chaz, this is N5BB. Well, there's not a lot going on because of the COVID restrictions. We can't do events at schools and hospitals and museums, and we can't have our in-person meetings. So our next virtual meeting from National Space Society of North Texas is going to be the second Sunday of September the 13th. And there's not a lot else to say right now because other than internal things, meetings we're having, there's not any external things going on. If anybody has any, but there are a lot of space events recently. SpaceX and other companies are a lot of launches, a lot of things going on. So that's all I have right now. If anybody would like to, has interest in joining the National Space Society, they can contact me, November 5 Bravo Bravo, at arrl.net. Or they can look at the National Space Society website, nss.org. This is N5BB. That's all I've got, Chaz. Oh, and by the way, I forgot one thing. Tom, N5HYP, is trying to set up a second local AMSAT net besides the Arlington one on the Arlington repeater. He's trying to set up one here on this repeater. I believe he'll be doing it at 7 p.m. Every Tuesday evening. He meant to do it this last Tuesday, but he had a work conflict. He's not going to do it on the first Tuesday evenings because that's the Dallas Amateur Radio Club. So that he's anticipating on having the AMSAT net on this repeater, I believe it's 7 p.m. starting Tuesday, September the 8th, and going on every Tuesday evening except for the first Tuesday of each month. N5BB.
Thank you, Bill. I'd heard rumors of this, but I didn't know the details, and thanks for filling in the details about the AMSAT having a second net here in the DFW area. That's awesome. And, Bill, thank you so much for giving me signal checks earlier. I had to tweak a few things. I had to disassemble things a couple weeks ago, and they're not quite all back tweaked, I guess, together. Since I am the net control station for the evening, I get to choose a feature topic, and I've chosen the Carrington event. Okay, Mr. Slide Changer, if you're on the video part, we're on slide number 2. This comes from the monthly notices of the Royal Astronomy Society, volume 20, page 13 and 14. The title description of a singular appearance seen in the sun on September the 1st, 1859. The author is R.C. Carrington. And I quote, "While engaged in the forenoon of Thursday, September 1st, in taking my customary observation of the forms and positions of solar spots, an appearance was witnessed which I believe to be exceedingly rare. The image of the sun's disk was, as usual with me, projected on a plate of glass coated with a distemper of pale straw color, and in the distance and under the power of which presented a picture of about 11 inches in diameter. I had secured diagrams of all groups and detached spots and was engaged in timing and counting of with a chronometer and reading in the contracts of the spots with cross wires used in the observations. When within the area of Great North Group, the size of which had been previously generally remarked, 2 patches of intensely bright and white light broke out, indicated in the appended diagram of letters A and B. And the form of the spaces left white. My first impression was that some chance of ray of light had penetrated a hole in the screen attached to the object glass, by which the general image is thrown to a shade, for a brilliancy was fully equal to that of the direct sunlight. But by once interrupting the current observation and causing the image to move by turning the right ascension handle, I saw that an unprepared witness of a very different affair. I thereupon noted down that the time by the chronometer, and seeing the outburst to be very rapidly on the increase and being somewhat flurried by my surprise, I hastily ran to call someone to witness the exhibition before me, and upon returning within 60 seconds, was mortified to find that it was already much changed and enfeebled. Very shortly thereafter, the last trace was gone, and although I maintained a strict watch for nearly an hour or so, reoccurrence did not take place." End of the quote. And I am KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. What Richard Carrington observed was what we now call a white light flare associated with a coronal mass ejection, a CME. This is one of the largest solar events of its kind in the last 200 years. Independently, another observer, Richard Hodgson, also observed the event. The CME took only about 17.6 hours to make it the 150 million kilometer journey from the sun to the Earth. Most CMEs take a few days to make this journey. A geomagnetic solar flare effect was observed by the Key Observatory magnetometer by British physicist Balfour Stewart. This was the beginning of a very large geomagnetic storm. The effects, which lasted for several days, auroras were seen all over the world, as far south as the Caribbean and Hawaii, and even in Colombia, which is close to the equator. At times, the aurora light is brighter than the full moon. It is reported that the aurora was so bright over the Rocky Mountains that the miners thought it was morning twilight and began fixing breakfast. We are now up to slide number 5. At the time of the Carrington event, the telegraph was the main technology. Telegraphs were run by using batteries. During the event, some of the telegraphs were able to be operated with the batteries disconnected due to the voltage being produced along the wires because of the intensity of the geomagnetic storm. Most telegraph systems eventually failed. Some fires were caused by the electrified telegraph lines. Many telegraph operators received electric shocks. And once again, I am KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. Now, how do events like this occur? Well, first, there may be a way to go back in time to detect these events. Maybe. Ice cores have been analyzed to try to reconstruct a possible history. These events may affect the Earth on an average of about every 150 years. But this research involving ice cores is not conclusive and has been disputed. Has an event like this occurred recently? Well, since 1859, we've observed some big solar events. One occurred in 1921, but was less severe solar event than the Carrington event. Another less severe event happened in 1960. On August 4th, 1972, a strange event occurred. The crew of the U.S. Task Force 77 aircraft flying near a naval minefield near North Vietnam observed 20 to 25 explosions over about a 30-second period of time. About a week and a half later, on August the 15th, 1972, the commander of the Chief of the Pacific, Admiral Bernard Cleary, asked about the hypothesis that a solar activity event could have caused the mine detonation. And actually there was an X-class solar flare. X-class solar flares are the strongest ones, that happened on August the 4th, 1972. Might be a good correlation. We're up to slide number 8, Mr. Slide Changer. Thank you, Tom. On March the 13th, 1989, a geomagnetic storm, the results of solar activity, knocked out electricity to large sections of Quebec, Canada. I wonder what would happen if an event like that happened today, a Carrington event. We'll get to that later. Slide number 9. A series of solar flares in 2003 produced magnetic storms around Halloween in 2003, resulting in a wonderful aurora display over a few days. This solar activity was the strongest to date that the GEOS system has recorded. Electricity outages occurred in Sweden, and the SOHO satellite, we're so familiar with this satellite observing the sun, it failed temporarily due to the overload on its systems. Slide number 10, July 23rd, 2012, the Carrington-class solar superstorm with a solar flare and a CME, remember what a CME is, right? Coronal mass ejection, and even an electromagnetic pulse, EMP, was observed, but luckily it wasn't directed at the Earth. Slide number 11. On March 15th, 2015, a sunspot group released several M-class solar flares and an X-class solar flare. By the way, M-class solar flares are just a little bit less than X-class solar flares. So on St. Patrick's Day in 2015, lots of people observed aurora, and they're usually green. That's a good thing. And ham radio operators took advantage of an opportunity to do some interesting radio contacts not normally available. And I am KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. What would happen if a Carrington event directly hit the Earth right now? It's estimated that all the satellites would stop working. The entire electricity grid all over the world could fail and probably would be destroyed. Even small devices such as cell phones and computers could be damaged, but with no electricity, they would become useless quickly anyway. It is estimated that it would take more than 10 years to rebuild the electrical system in the United States. primarily replacing transformers. Chopping wood and shooting squirrels for food in the backyard would become a normal thing for a long time. Sounds like a shelter-in-place thing we're doing now. Is there anything we can do if a Carrington event occurs right now? The simple answer is not much. This is way beyond our control because we can't control the sun, and not too much of that can be done either. I'm not trying to concern all of you out there, but make you aware that our sun is a much more powerful control over our environment than we will ever be. Of course, we have had some interesting things happen over the last 5.5 months with a tiny little thing that has drastically changed our lives. A Carrington event might destroy our current technology. Slide number 13. So what can we do? We can learn. Education is the best at this point. Let me give you a couple of resources that you can use. Spaceweather.com is a great place to visit daily to learn about current solar and geomagnetic conditions. There's other ones out there as well. In fact, us ham radio operators use several different sources for solar activity. Slide number 14. Did any of you out there in Radio Land get to go to HamCom? Oh, no, not this year, but HamCom 2019 in Dallas. If you did attend HamCom, then maybe you attended the session with space weather woman Tamitha Scove. I was looking forward to meeting her in person, but she presented virtually. Yep, she was a pioneer doing virtual presentations back then. Her website, spaceweatherwoman.com, is a great resource to find out what's going on with the sun. And I am KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide number 15. I have studied the Carrington event and for many an hour over the last several years, and have just scratched the surface. I know there's a lot more information about it, and I could probably go on for hours, but we're not going to do that. But do any of you out there have any questions or comments about this topic before we move on? Come now with your call sign if you have a question or comment.
Kilo 5, Juliet, Delta Whiskey.
John, in your southern home, please come now. What's your question or comment?
Yeah, thanks for this topic. It's one of those things, not if, but when, that kind of thing, I guess. Is there any way, kind of like the way they do now, where they actually shut down wind turbines when there's eagles around, so they don't get whacked by the blades? I was wondering if they could do something like that with our grid infrastructure. We do have advance notice when a lot of those eruptions are aimed at the Earth, so is there any way to maybe adjust the grid or redirect it, or maybe put big MOVs somewhere in line with it or something, just to circumvent that happening, or maybe just even shut it down or lower the power when something like this is coming and they're sure it's going to be a really bad event. K5 JDW.
John, I think some of those things could happen. Some of those things could happen right now if the right people know about what to do at the right time before one of those things hit us. There are satellites that can go into a sort of a safe mode when we get a solar flare that happens, and that could help protect some of our satellites up there. But I think we need to research some more and put a little bit more resources into protecting our electric infrastructure, because that's what modern society is all about. Thank you very much for your question. And that's a good question for a lot of people, engineers and others, to research. Thanks so much. All right, so I guess next up on our list is space exploration and space history. I'm not sure if it's Brenda or Kelly that's doing that this week. Come now, whoever's coming to do that this week. Yeah, Kelly or Brenda.
This is N5BB. Can I make a comment about the previous topic?
Sure, Bill. Go ahead and do that quickly.
I wasn't able to get in before John, and you didn't answer anything after. This is N5BB. The kind of answer is John's question. Yes, there's been a number of papers number of studies, quite a bit of thought about the issue in the electric power industry. The problem is the ground return currents. So the really significant problem is on long lines that are going long distances, especially ones that are going, 1,000 miles or something, but even shorter lines that are going hundreds of miles and many dozens of miles. And the longer the line, of course, the more that the unstable Earth's magnetic field from these events will pick up large induced voltages. So the biggest problem is the common mode signal. And there's a ground from the, you might say, the center cap of the transformers to the earth ground for lightning protection. And so there are already systems that detect when that current is getting too high and disconnect it. And also sometimes they put a capacitor there so it's grounded for AC but not DC. So yes, there are several things that are all currently being used, and there's other things being developed. Our current network is not immune to a really big Carrington kind of event, but for smaller events, some of the things they've been doing with the electric power industry is sufficient. It all depends on the size of the event, which is hard to predict. N5BB, thank you.
WB4MFI has a follow-up question, please.
Oops, did I double with someone? Come now if you had a comment or question.
WB4MFI, Ted, has a follow-up question. May I put a follow-up question?
Absolutely, Ted. Go right ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess this question is about protecting ham radio gear during something like a Carrington event. Are there precautions or procedures or actions that we need to be taking to protect our gear if we knew that such an event were headed our way?
Ted, thank you so much for your question. One of the things I might suggest would be disconnecting the antenna, because that could run voltage in, because you're going to build up a potential on your antenna lines. Bill, do you have any thoughts or comments about what we could do to protect our ham radio equipment?
This is N5BB. Well, usually these effects are totally different from a nuclear blast or a lightning. Nuclear blast and lightning produces electromagnetic impulses, EMP, which are very, very fast, high-frequency content, which would definitely zap your antennas. I mean, anything connected to your antenna. The magnetic field changes from the geomagnetic field becoming unstable, doing Carrington kind of things, usually produces much slower effects. And I agree, if you had a big, long wire antenna, it'd be better to disconnect it. But in general, I don't think you'd have to worry about much unless your antenna is very long. Again, the amount of the induced voltage is pretty much proportional to the length of it. And most of the problems in the past were due to things like long telegraph lines, which literally burned up and fried and shocked people back in the original Carrington event. And in that Quebec and other similar things that Chaz talked about, it was because they were very long power lines interconnecting parts of Canada. So I don't think you have a lot to worry about from that. Radio conditions would be pretty weird, and the power grid may have some difficulty, but I wouldn't worry much about amateur radio equipment. Again, it's going to affect low-frequency magnetic fields, which would be long, long, long wires. N5BB.
Thank you, Bill. Ted, did that help answer your question?
Yes. One less thing to worry about. I am grateful. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else out there with comments about the Carrington event? Come now. All right. So next up is space exploration and space history. Brenda, I think you're up. I got my private information over the chat session on Echolink. I guess you're doing space exploration, space history. It's all yours. You're net.
Thank you. This is WB50ZL. NASA's MAVEN, it's M-A-V-E-N, spacecraft has discovered a vast spiral of ultraviolet light swirling over the south pole of Mars. A new paper just published in JGR Space Physics explains the chemistry of the aurora light glow, but not its shape. Researchers say this spiral is a mystery. Next, we have developed a new predictive model of aviation radiation. It's called ERAD, E-RAD, short for Empirical Radiation Model. We are constantly flying radiation sensors on board airplanes over the U.S. and around the world, so far collecting more than 22,000 GPS-tagged radiation measurements. Using this unique data set, we can predict the dosage of any flight over the U.S. with an error no worse than 15%. ERAD lets us do something new. Every day we monitor approximately 1,400 flights crisscrossing the 10 busiest routes of the continental USA. Typically, this includes more than 80,000 passengers per day. ERAD calculates the radiation exposure for every single flight. To measure radiation on airplanes, we use the same sensors we fly to the stratosphere on board Earth to sky calculus, cosmic ray balloons, neutron bubble chambers, and X-ray, gamma ray Geiger tubes that are sensitive to energies between 10 keV and 20 MeV. Birthdays. Today, August 29th, 1961, Chris Hadfield was born. He did 3 space missions, totaling 166 days in space. Then, 30th, 1931, Jack Swigert. He was, of course, on Apollo 13. August 24th, 1944, Gregory Jarvis, who died on the Challenger mission. August 30th, 1971, Megan MacArthur. She did 2 shuttle missions, but she's also going to be a future SpaceX astronaut. She's married to SpaceX astronaut Bob Behnken, so she's going to go and do what he did. No competition, of course. August 24th was Joe Engle, who had 2 shuttle missions and is the last living X-15 pilot. Now on to history. August 28th, 1789, Enceladus, moon of Saturn, was discovered by William Herschel. Cassini, spacecraft Cassini discovered water-rich plumes venting from the South Polar region. Cryovolcanoes near the South Pole shoot geyser-like jets of water vapor molecular hydrogen, other volatiles, and solid material, including sodium, chloride, crystals, and ice particles into space, totaling about 200 kilograms per second. Over 100 geysers have been identified. Some of the water vapor falls back as snow. That's in quotes. The rest escapes and supplies most of the material making up Saturn's E-ring. According to NASA scientists, the plumes are similar in composition to comets. In 2014, NASA reported that Cassini found evidence for a large south polar subsurface ocean of liquid water with a thickness of around 10 kilometers, and that is 6 miles. Stand by. Apologize. I lost my place and it went away. Then August 28th, 1993, the Galileo spacecraft flew past the asteroid 243 Ida and caught a glimpse of Ida's tiny moon. In the decades since, Ann Harsh of the Galileo team found this first example of an asteroid moon. We've now found more than 150 asteroids with moons caught in their orbit. And that's all I have. This is WB50ZL.
Thank you so much, Brenda. I appreciate all that. We have a lot of stuff that goes on in the summertime oftentimes, so there's a lot of history in the summertime and a lot of exploration that happens as well. All right, right now I'd like to ask if there are any other people that'd like to check into Skynet. Come now with your call sign, your name, and your location if you'd like to check into this session of Skynet.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, recheck.
Kilo, Burl, and Dallas.
Kilo, Foxtrot 5, Zulu, Bravo, Lima, Bill, Farmers Branch.
Okay, I pulled out of that. Burl, welcome. And Bill, thank you so much from Farmers Branch. Tony, you wanted a recheck. Please come now.
Thank you, Chaz. I just had a space history note. We did lose an astronaut this week. He trained for Apollo 19. That was canceled, of course, but he commanded the longest Skylab mission. Gerald Carr, Colonel Gerald Carr of the U.S. Marine Corps, died just this week on August 26th at the age of 88. He commanded what was sometimes called Skylab 3 or sometimes called Skylab 4. It was our longest Skylab mission. It was 84 days long. Very exciting mission, and he had a very interesting career. And unfortunately, he died this week. I just wanted to mention Gerald Carr. He did some very cool stuff. If you take a look at Homesteading Space or Wikipedia, lots of neat stuff on Skylab. NT5TM.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you so much. I did not hear about that, so I appreciate that. Okay, let's see now. No, JJ, we actually only need 9 more, because I checked in some people over here on Echolink that aren't talking to me, but I'm writing them down anyway. So we have 33 so far for our check-in tonight. We need just 9 more so we can get to 42, the perfect number. All right, the next thing that's up was up in Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week. Once again, this is Chaz, and my degree is in astrophysics, and I am the astrophysics lab manager at Dallas College on the Brookhaven campus. We call this segment of Skynet Was Up, but I also am doing, here recently, Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week. So, let's go to Was Up First. We're at slide number 17, Mr. Slide Changer. The moon was at its first quarter phase on August the 25th, so the current phase of the moon is a waxing gibbous. You need to go out and look at it tonight if the clouds aren't in the way. I haven't been out since the thunderstorms came in. Maybe it's cleared out, I don't know. The moon will be full on September the 1st. That'll be on Tuesday. And the moon will be third quarter on September the 10th. Slide number 8. Last night, on August the 28th, around 10 p.m., the moon was just below Jupiter in the southern sky. And just to the left of that, you could have spotted Saturn. Tonight, the moon is just to the left of Saturn, with Jupiter to the right of Saturn. At around 10:30 on September the 5th, look toward the east to find the moon and Mars in conjunction. Remember, the Earth and Mars are getting closer and closer together, and that is why humans have been launching spacecraft toward Mars recently. On October the 6th, it will be the date when Mars and the Earth will be at their closest than they have been in over 2 years. Slide number 20. At around 5:30 a.m., look toward the east on September the 14th to find the moon and Venus. Venus should be remaining bright enough to see even in the daytime sky right now. So after sunrise on September the 14th, yes, during the daytime, use the thin crescent moon that you can see in the daytime as a guide to find Venus just to the south of the moon. Yes, during the day. In the evening sky, as twilight fades on September the 18th, look for the thin crescent moon. To the lower left of the moon, you may spot the planet Mercury, and to the upper left of Mercury, you might find the star Spica. Slide number 22. Let's talk about the upcoming meteor showers in September. The Regenids will peak on the night of August 31st and September 1st. That's just in a few days. About a half a dozen meteors per hour. And the night of September 8th and 9th is the September Epsilon meteor shower that also has about half a dozen meteors per hour. I always suggest camping in a Texas state park to watch the meteors. For details about meteors and meteor showers, visit the American Meteor Society at amsmeteors.org or the International Meteor Organization, IMO.net. All right, this is the end of Was Up segment, and we're going to begin Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week in just a moment. Once again, my call sign is KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week is named in honor of a silent key, Carolyn, KC5OZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week from almost its beginning in 2012 until May of 2019, with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Since there are about 52 constellations out of the 88 total constellations that are easily visible in Texas throughout the year, Miss Carolyn covered the entire sky in a year. In her honor, we've continued the tradition of constellation per week. Miss Carolyn's Constellations per week this week is actually a 2-for-1 special. Yeah, it was on the discounted aisle, so I picked it up this week. Corona Australis, and which is the Southern Crown, and Scutum, which is the shield. Corona Australis is the Southern Crown and is known by Greeks as a wreath. And in some depictions of pictures, you'll see it as a green circle. That's the wreath and not a crown. Before Ptolemy introduced its stars as a separate constellation, Corona Australis was also known as a circlet of stars near the forefeet of the centaur Sagittarius. We talked about Sagittarius last week. Corona Australis is also one of the smallest constellations of the sky. It's only the 80th in size. It occupies only an area of 128 square degrees. Scutum, the shield, is one of the more modern constellations. It was created in 1684 by astronomer Johannes Velius, who named it Scutum Sobi, I'm going to mess this up, Sobicanum. Okay, that's close enough, which is Latin for Scoby's shield. This was in honor of the patron King John III, Scoby of Poland. As Fred Scarf noticed in August 2013 issue of Sky Telescope, Scutum is the only modern constellation introduced for political reasons. He also notes that the constellation's name has been shortened from the original to just Scutum, removing the political reference. It is the 5th smallest constellation in the sky and is the 84th constellation in size, occupying only an area of 109 square degrees. We're up to slide number 24. I'd like to talk about one star, just one, in Corona Australis, Meridina Alpha Corona Australis, which is the class A to 5 star. If you're familiar with the star classification systems, it's brighter and bigger than ours sun. It has an apparent magnitude of 4.1. It is about 130 light years in distance. It's the only named star in the constellation. It's got its name from Alpaca Meridian, or Alpaca of the South. So if Alpaca is the brightest star in the northern crown, Corona Borealis, this is the brightest star in the southern crown. Okay, all right. I think I've got that straightened down. Corona Australis Nebula is the brightest reflection nebula. Oh, we're up to slide number 25. At about 420 light years distance, formed by several bright stars caught up in the dark cloud of dust. The cloud is a star-forming region with clusters of young stars embedded within it. This nebula consists of about 3 nebulous regions, NGC, that means New General Catalog, 6726 NGC, 6727, and 6729. The molecular cloud complex in the region is one of the nearest areas with recent and ongoing intermediate and low-mass star formation. This image, if you're looking at the video part of this, is from NASA's WISE satellite and is a view of an area of the sky of about 12 times the size of the full moon. 2 types of star clusters are visible in the image. The wispy nebula running top to bottom of this image is nearby star-forming region that I just talked about. Here in the infrared light, we see the light of dust itself as it is warmed by the light of the newborn stars in the cluster, and those are red and green in color. We also see that the dust appear in the stars nestled within, and they're a blue and cyan color. This star cluster has been called, the star cluster that's in this nebula is called the Coronet Cluster. Now we're up to slide number 26. The Coronet Cluster is located some 420 light years from the Earth and stretches about 10 light years across. The Coronet Cluster is a relatively loose cluster of a few dozen stars, many of which are only a few million years old. Yes, relatively young. They're babies. They're probably still in the crib. It's one of the nearest known regions of ongoing star formation, while perhaps not as quite as well known as the star formation cousin Orion Nebula, M42. But this region containing, which is the heart of the nebula, is the Coronet Cluster. It's one of the nearest and most active regions of ongoing star formation. And this is KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. Scutum, the Shield, is one of the more prominent constellations, well, modern constellations as well. I talked about that just a little bit ago. We're on slide number 27, just to let you know. Let's see now. I've already talked about that. Why did I do it twice? Okay. Once again, it's the fifth smallest constellation in the sky, and it only has 109 square degrees. Okay, let me talk about a star, or just one star in this constellation, Alpha Scuti. It is the brightest star in the constellation. It is an orange giant with a stellar classification of K23. It has an apparent magnitude of 3.85 and is approximately 174 light years in distance from the Earth. The star used to belong to Aquila constellation, was previously designated as 1 Aquilae. It is a known variable star and Carolyn would have talked about that since she loved variable stars. And it varies in brightness about 10%. Alpha Scuti is 132 times more luminous than the sun and has a mass about 1.7 times that of the sun. It's believed to be about 2 billion years old. I only want to talk about a couple of things deep sky object-wise. M11 is a star cluster. It's an open star cluster, and it was discovered in 1681. But he didn't see it as individual stars. He saw it as a fuzzy blob. Its true nature was not discovered until William Durham in England in 1732 saw it. And in 1844, renowned British astronomer Admiral William Smythe described N11 as a flight of wild ducks in shape, and the name stuck. M11, the wild duck cluster, is easily found in binoculars or a finder scope. In small telescopes, the cluster has a triangular or V shape, forming Admiral Smythe's flock of wild ducks. The 8th magnitude star at the apex of the V is not a cluster member, but a foreground star. But I think of it as the lead duck. M26, we're at slide number 30, is a small, loose cluster of open cluster. In contrast to M11, M26 is much more sparsely populated and noticeable, really smaller than M11. Robert Burnham and the noted Admiral Smythe describes M26 as a coarse but bright cluster of stars in a fine, condensed part of the Milky Way, which just about sums it up, as the whole constellation Scutum is taken up by the Scutum star cloud, which is the brightest of the Milky Way outside of the constellation of Sagittarius. One more area to talk about. Not an M. These are B's. These are from the Barnard catalog of dark nebula. B112, B114, B115, B116, B117, B118, B318. These are all dark nebulas. In other words, they look like areas where it's lacking stars. That's because there's dust and gas between us and the stars. Interesting. A good star chart and a large telescope will be useful to finding these objects in this area. They're just to the south of M11. And this is KF5 JHA, and this is Skynet. There are more Astronomical League observing program objects in the constellations of Corona Australis and Scutum, but I've just given you a sampling of a few of them. The Astronomical League has over 60 different observing programs, which have about 100 objects each. If you observe 10 objects in an observing program each month, then you can usually earn an observing certificate and a pin in just a year. And that is Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week, Corona Australis, and Scutum. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for their research and words on the deep sky objects that I've used tonight. I've used some of their words and some of my own, but also I've used the website constellation-guide.com for information. It's a wealth of information. Next week will be Aquila, the eagle. A reminder, the Texas Astronomical Society has information about their meetings and observing stations, if we can ever do that again, at their website, texasastro.org. Now, do any of you out there in Radioland have any questions or need a fill or have any questions about astronomy in general? I don't know everything, but I may know the answer to your question. Come now with your call sign if you have a question. Mr. PLL, I will check you in. I see you in the chat session over here. Thank you so much. And Sean, KX7WTF, I'm checking you in as well. Okay, right now we're up to space launches for this week. Tom, KE5ICX, it's up to you, I believe. You're next.
Well, thank you, Chaz. This is KE5ICX, and yes, I have stuff here for space launches for this week and maybe beyond. There's two you can go to get this information, find out, and by the way, why is that important or why is that interesting? Because all this stuff is streamed live, so you can watch the boosters take off and head to orbit or beyond. So from Space Flight Now, the launch schedule, that's spaceflightnow.com/launch schedule. August 30th, which is what, tomorrow? Falcon 9, Starlink 11, yes, another 50 satellites going, no, 60 satellites launching from 39A, the former Saturn V launch complex at Kennedy Space Center in Florida. A SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket will launch the 12th batch of approximately 60 satellites for SpaceX Starlink broadband network, a mission designated Starlink 11. On August 30th, it's another Falcon 9 flying a Sailcom 1B. That's at 7:19 Eastern Daylight Time. It'll launch from SLC 40 at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station, right across the bay, or the whatever that thing is out there. It's right next door to 39A. A SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket will launch the Sailcom 1B satellite for CONAE, Argentina's space agency. The 1B is the second of the Sailcom 1 series Earth observation satellites designed to provide radar imagery to help emergency responders and monitor the environment, including the collection of soil moisture measurements. What's kind of interesting about this is this mission was originally scheduled to launch from Vandenberg Air Force Base out in California, but it was delayed from March 30th due to coronavirus pandemic. Next up, overnight, August 30th, 31st, the Electron. I can't believe it's not optical. The launch window, let's see here, is 11:05 p.m. to 3:05 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The launch complex is Mahia Peninsula in New Zealand. A Rocket Lab Electron rocket will launch on its 14th flight to the Sequoia with the Sequoia radar observation satellite from Capella Space, a commercial remote sensing company. Rocket Lab nicknamed the launch, I can't believe it's not optical, in reference to Capella's synthetic aperture radar technology. Interesting. Let's see, next up I'll do September 1st, 2nd, again overnight. The Vega SSMS launch from the ZLV Kourou, French Guiana, and Aerospace Vega rocket, designated VV-16, will launch on the Small Spacecraft Mission Service, or SSMS, proof of concept mission with around 50 microsatellites, nanosatellites, and CubeSats for commercial and institutional customers. This rideshare launch is the first flight of a multi-payload dispenser funded by the European Space Agency to allow the Vega rocket to deliver numerous small satellites to orbit on a single mission. Another overnight, September 10th and 11th, Rocket 3.1 is a test flight. This is from the Pacific Spaceport complex at Kodiak Island in Alaska. Yeah, Alaska. A commercial small satellite launch vehicle developed by Astra will make its first orbital launch attempt. Astra says there will be no payloads on this test flight. And Chaz, that's it for me. I hope you had a glass of water and you can come back and not sound like a whisperer. This is KE5ICX back to World Control.
I guess a radio whisperer might not be the best thing. We need to reserve that for horses. Yeah, okay. Thank you so much, Tom. Okay, I can't believe we've made it this far and we still have time left over. Brenda, sometimes we make it to astronomical discoveries and sometimes we don't, but we are here. We have plenty of time. You know, take an hour or two because, you know, the afterglow doesn't need much time, do they? All right, it's all yours. WB5OZL.
Thank you. This is WB5OZL. Actually, this was leftover from last week because we didn't have time. So I hope nobody minds leftovers. Let's just call it potluck. That's a better way of saying leftovers. Title, Spinning Black Hole Powers Jet by Magnetic Flux. Black holes are at the center of almost all galaxies that have been studied so far. They have an unimaginably large mass and therefore attract matter, gas, and even light. They can also emit matter in the form of plasma jets, a kind of plasma beam that is ejected from the center of the galaxy with tremendous energy. A plasma jet can extend several 100,000 light years far into space. When this intense radiation is emitted, the black hole remains hidden because the light rays near it are strongly bent, leading to the appearance of a shadow. This was recently reported by the researchers of the Event Horizon Telescope collaboration for the massive black hole in the giant ellipse galaxy M87. In quasar 3C279, also a black hole, the EHT team found another phenomenon. At a distance of more than 1,000 times the shadow of the black hole, the core of a plasma jet suddenly lit up. How the energy for this jet could get there, as if through an invisible chimney, is not yet known. This quasar has now been observed with the NASA Space Telescope Fermi-LAT by the astrophysicist Amrit Shukla, who until 2018 did research at Julius Maximus Universität, JMU, Würzburg in Bavaria, Germany. He's now working at the Indian Institute of Technology in Indore. Shukla discovered that the core jet, which was found in the millimeter wavelength range, also emits high-energy gamma radiation, but with an extremely flickering brightness. This brightness can double within a few minutes, as reported by the journal Nature Communications. The special pattern of the sequence of brightness changes is characteristic of a universal process called magnetic reconnection, which occurs in many astrophysical objects with strong magnetic fields. Solar activity also has to do with the dynamics of magnetic fields and reconnection. It was recently demonstrated by observing campfires, in quotes, in the solar atmosphere with the Solar Orbiter mission of the European Space Agency, ESA. But back to the quasar 3C279. I saw how the analysis of the data revealed the special pattern of magnetic reconnection in the light curve. It felt as if I had suddenly deciphered a hieroglyph in the black hole alphabet, says Amit Shukla happily. During reconnection, energy that is initially stored invisibly in the magnetic field is suddenly released in numerous mini-jets. In these jets, particles are accelerated, which then produce the observed gamma radiation. Magnetic reconnection would explain how the energy reaches the jet's core from the black hole and where it ultimately comes from. Professor Carl Mannheim, head of the JMU Chair of Astronomy and co-author of the publication, explains space time near the black hole and the quasar 3C279 is forced to swirl around in co-rotation. Magnetic fields anchored to the plasma around the black hole expel the jet slowly, slowing down the black hole's rotation and converting part of its rotational energy into radiation. All right, that's the end. This is from ScienceDaily.com. Back to net, WB5OZO.
Thank you so much, Brenda. I remember 3C273 back in my college days. It would look like a thing that was coming toward us at tens of thousands of miles an hour and going away from us at even a higher speed, if I remember right. And it became a research thing for the astronomers in the department at the Ohio State University, both the theoretical and the observational. The observational gave information to the theoretical, and it all worked out really well. But 3C273 became really famous because Father Guido Sarducci on Saturday Night Live talked about the coming and the Gorn planet. I'm sure there's probably a YouTube video about that somewhere. Oh, well. Let's see. We're up to visible satellite passages over the next couple of days. Tom, do you have anything about that? Come now.
Thank you, Chaz. Let's see here. I got distracted here. Heavens above, going to heavens above. Let's see here. This is kind of interesting. I wanted to mention this, and then I'll just give the information on it. There's an old satellite that is about to re-enter the atmosphere here maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow. I don't know. But it's called OGO-1. It was the first of a series of 6 orbiting geophysical observatories. And this is the very first. It was launched in 1964. It was to conduct diversified geophysical experiments to obtain a better understanding of the Earth as a planet and to develop and operate a standardized observatory-type satellite. So here's the interesting part of this, and I guess this is going to be the feature tonight of sorts, is the University of Arizona's Catalina Star Survey, or CSS, funded by NASA, detected an object late in the evening of August 25th, 2020, which appeared to be on an impact trajectory with the Earth. The University of Hawaii's Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System, ATLAS, also funded by PDCO, independently observed the object. Further observation was conducted by CSS to confirm the object's trajectory. The object was confirmed not to be an asteroid, but in fact the Orbiting Geophysical Observatory, or OGO-1, which was predicted to re-enter Earth's atmosphere on Saturday evening, tonight, over the South Pacific. So on the live feed, I went ahead and put up the visible passes for OGO-1, which was thought, forgotten, actually. And it has several. Of course, we don't know when this thing is coming down, but it actually appears. What's really interesting about it is, and I'll put it up on the feed if you want to see it, is it oscillates back and forth. It's in a highly elliptic orbit, and as such, as the Earth moves and it sits in space, it has sort of this elliptic formation, which is really interesting. It actually orbits, at least in the sky, is like a figure 8. So it doesn't go across the sky because it's in a highly elliptical orbit. So it's really interesting. I can't describe it really well. Now, if you're looking at the feed, you'll see this kind of oscillating thing. It's Irequalis, and continues to do this. Now, one of the things they don't mention is just, how long this is going to occur. Of course, it's coming down sometime soon. Oh, I know what they did not mention is actually what the magnitude is. It's got to be very faint, but it's kind of cool. I like it. All right, that's all I'm going to do tonight because we're about to conclude. But I wanted to mention it's really interesting, and it popped up on Heavens Above. There's a hyphen between the two, heavensabove.com. And you can go ahead and plug in your longitude, latitude coordinates or allow your browser to accept your location, and you can get all this information. It works great for amateur radio satellites and for everything else. You don't need a special program to download or anything else. All you need to do is your longitude and latitude. Back to net control. This is KE5ICX.
Yes, I'm still here. Hey, we're only a short time away from the end of this session of Skynet. So what I'd like to do is ask if there's any more check-ins. We are only 8 away from our magic number of 42. I don't think we've ever reached 42, but we're only 8 away from it right now. We're at 34. So are there any last-minute check-ins? Come now with your call sign, your name, and your location, please.
K2OIZ, Roy City, Texas. Name is George.
Kilo Echo 5, Echo Tango Delta, Frank Rowlett.
Kilo Golf 5, Oscar Mike Romeo, Marcia in Dallas.
Kilo 5, Alpha November Echo, Kane in Richardson.
November 5, Sierra Quebec Alpha, Ron. Beautiful downtown
I'm completely operational, and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow Movie Net.
Well, that was a healthy check-in. Stuart, Frank, Marcia, Kane, and Ron. Oh my goodness, we're up to 39. Oh, we only need 3 more. Jostle somebody out of bed. Wake them up. Have them check in. Come now if you have a need to check into Skynet. We have a need for you to check into Skynet. This is the final call for check-ins to Skynet. Okay, so close. Tonight, we had 39 hams participating on the air. Wow, I think that might be a record. I don't know. We'll have to ask Tom. He probably keeps records of that. Thank you to all that checked in to this evening, especially the last 5. That's awesome. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space exploration. We even do space history. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for new net control stations for this and all other DARC nets. If you would like to try your hand at this, contact any of the net controls or by sending an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussions about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and Twitter, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful information just by going to our website, w5fc.org, at the conclusion of this net. Now, until next Saturday night, this is Chaz, KF5JHA, and I'll be closing the net at 22:31:22. Local time, and returning the repeater to back to normal amateur use. 73, everyone, and enjoy the evening. Go out and take a look at the moon and Jupiter and Saturn. I did just a few moments ago. Good night.
Thank you, Chaz. Excellent, Ned. You always do a good job. I know you do leap month nets, but you always do a good one. This is KE5ICX. I don't know who our net control will be in 5 minutes, but come back for Zonthar, the thing from Venus, while we argue to figure out who net control will be in 5 minutes. So if it's you, it's your fault. We'll see you then. Come back in 5. Powder your noses. This is KE5ICX.
CQ, CQ, CQ. This is KC3NPY. Kilo Charlie 3, November Papa Yankee, calling CQ from PA USA to Echolink. CQ, CQ, CQ.
Station on Echolink, please stand by. We're getting ready to have a net starting any moment now. on this frequency. Please stand by. This is Inside BB.
This is KE5ICX. Does anybody want to be net control? Please come forward.
I've already been net control on one night tonight, Tom. You can do it in 5BB.
Oh, Bill, you realize that you could be world control. All right, fine. I'll do it. Who knows? We'll see what happens. This one, this net, although some people actually take notes and figure out who's net control, I don't. I just wonder who's going to show up and who doesn't, and just kind of go forward with it. So I'll be net control tonight. Why not? World control. This is KE5ICX. My name's Tom. I will be world control tonight for the Afterglow Movie Net. Yes, it's the last net out of, I don't know how many nets we do today. We start at 6:30 and we go until midnight. So this is it. I'll be net control. Tonight's movie is Zontar, the thing from Venus. Yes, a fine film from 1966. Please hold while I let the doggies out. I'll be right back. Well, I guess not. The dog ran off somewhere into another part of the house. Are you going out or not? You want to go out? Hold on.
I think Zontar is controlling Tom's dogs in 5BB.
Mind control does not work on dogs. Now, I'm going to have to interrupt the net and let them back in. There's two of them. The one decides she wants to go outside, then wanders away, which means bad things can happen if you don't direct them someplace important like outside. Okay, this week's movie is Zontar, the thing from Venus, known as, in other parts of the world, as Zontar the Invader from Venus. I don't know what the difference is. It was a 1966 made-for-television science fiction film. Really? Directed by Larry Buchanan and starring John Agar. Everybody loves John Agar. Susan Brugman. It is based on a teleplay by Hillman Tyler. It is a low-budget 16 millimeter film color remake of Roger Corman's It Conquered the World from 1956, which also featured an alien invader from Venus. So that's the subject of the movie this evening. Now, one of the things I can tell you is this. We break this net into three basic parts and maybe a fourth if we're still awake. That is, we go through our check-ins. We then talk about the plot. What did you think about it? Hopefully you saw the movie, and we do ask that question as well. Did you see the movie? Followed by characterization, such as it is. And then finally, special effects, or if this runs along, I can't imagine why, but if it does, if it runs along, We then talk about that music, the special effects, the unspecial effects. I lost my pen. Now I gotta find another pen. And other things having to do with the film. And now the dogs are barking. Please stand by.
What happened to your giant tub of pens, WT90?
Work. Back and forth, everything, what you can expect. All right, one is in, the other one is just slowly making her way back to the door. Let me give you the plot, which is very short. At a dinner party with their wives, NASA scientist Dr. Keith Ritchie, played by Tony Huston, not Hudson, Huston, reveals to his colleague, Dr. Kurt Taylor, played by John Agar, that he has secretly been in communication with an alien from Venus named Zontar, who he claims is coming to Earth to solve all the world's problems. Where have we heard that before? However, as soon as Zontar arrives on Earth via a fallen laser satellite, not just any satellite, a laser satellite, it quickly becomes obvious that the three-eyed, bat-winged, skeletal black creature has a hidden agenda. Well, don't they all? As it begins causing local power outages that stop telephones, automobiles, and even running water from working. Now, how they do that, I don't know. And it starts taking control of people's minds using flying lobster-like, are you ready for this, injectopods that sprout from its wings. Only after his wife is killed does Ritchie finally realize that Zontar has come not as a savior, but as a conqueror, as he goes to confront the hideous alien in a sulfur spring-heated cave that it has made its secret base. All right, I'm going to read this review and then I'll make my initial comments. In the review of AllMovie, Paul Gaeta wrote, for experienced cult movie watchers, Zontar is a cinematic equivalent of a car accident, an unpleasant spectacle from which one cannot look away. Chris Eggerson of Bloody Disgusting criticizes the alien in the film for resembling a human monster with wings, but felt that it looked better than the alien from It Conquered the World. Zontar, this thing from Venus, arguably Buchanan's best-known film before he went to Russia. All right, you think about that for a moment while I let the second dog in. Please stand by. Everybody's back inside and everybody's taking care of business. No, you can't sing on the radio. So what I will do is I will take check-ins. Now listen carefully. I will take check-ins by call sign, your name, where you're transmitting from, your blood type, and whether you saw this film, Zontar, the thing from Venus. Not Dallas. I was thinking Dallas, but it was actually Venus. So I'm putting myself down. I am KE5ICX. My name is Tom. I'm in Louisville. I am type O, although you don't have to mention that. And yes, I did see this film. Additional check-ins, please come down.
November 5, Bravo, Bravo. Bill Nerving, blood type V for Venusoid. And I did see the film.
November, Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony, A for Avian. I did not see the movie, but I actually do have an announcement. NT5TM.
Kilo, Foxtrot 5, Tango, Sierra Kilo, Burl in Dallas. I did see the film, Blood Type Plus.
November 5, Hotel Yankee Papa. Tom and Irving. This is the second time, Tom, we've seen the movie. I have some blood.
K5ANE, Kane in Richardson. I have human blood. And, yes, I saw the movie.
WT9D, Michael in Plano. I have red blood. I saw some of it today. And unfortunately, I saw the movie.
Kilo Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey J, near Weatherford. And yes, I saw the film.
Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda in DeSoto. I saw the film. I have excellent blood type. And Tom, why did you say yours is O? You've always said it was type T, as in tango. So, did the aliens replace all your blood or something? I just need to know.
Stop there. We have the usual suspects over air. Don't worry, Echolink. I'm coming to you in just a moment. I've got N5BB, Bill and Irving. He's V for victory. Yes, he saw the film. NT5TM, Tony in Dallas. A blood. No, you did not see the film. I'm sorry, Tony. This second time around, you should have seen the film. It's okay. We'll ask you questions about why you didn't see the film. KF5TSK, that's Burl in Dallas. The family pack. Yes, he saw the film. N5HYP, Tom and Irving, I don't know if he saw it. Oh, yes, he saw the film, but we don't know his blood type because I didn't get it down. K5AME, that's Kane. In Richardson, he has human blood. Yes, he saw the film. WT9V, that's Michael. And I don't know where he is. I don't know, someplace over on the east side somewhere. KG5BZWJ near Weatherford. I think he came in over air. You got a good signal tonight. Yep, you saw the movie. WB5OZL, Miss Brenda DeSoto. T negative. I have T negative for you. Okay, I'll take additional, let me go over to Echolink. Echolink, if you'd like to join us this evening, please come with your call sign name, your location or your QTH, your blood type, and did you see Xantar, the thing from Venus? I'll give you extra time to think about all this complex stuff. Echolink only, please come now.
Everyone doing? This is KC3NPY from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. This is my first time on Echolink, actually. My blood type, I guess, is O negative, and I have not seen the movie.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Papa Delta Sierra. Billy living Injectopod free in Sherman, Texas. I did see the movie.
This Kilo Golf 5, Papa Mike, November, James, outside of Walters, Oklahoma, and I did see the movie.
three more. So I've got KC3NPY out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, USA. NC3P NPY, I've got you down. You didn't see the movie. But could I have your name, please, and welcome to the net. Okay, I'll come back to him later because he'll regret it if he doesn't respond the second time. I've got KF5PDS, Miss Billion Sherman. Yep, she saw the movie. KG5PMN, James in Oklahoma. Yep, he saw the movie. Any additional check-ins, please come now with your call sign name, where you're transmitting from. Did you see, what the heck is this movie? Zontar, the thing from Venus. Okie dokie. I think the usual suspects and a few others are here now. So let's see here. Do I want to mix this up? Do I want to go down the list? I'm deciding now. I'll go down the list. So we'll start with Bill, N5BB. Bill, you saw the movie, your V-Blood. Please tell us what you think about the plot for the movie Zontar, the thing from Venus.
Thank you, Tom. This is N5BB. I'm just imagining somebody in the studio publicity office deciding they're going to call the movie The Thing from Venus. It's not the invader from Venus or the monster from Venus or the creature from Venus. It's The Thing from Venus. They couldn't even write a good title. So what do I say? The plot is horrible. So what's horrible about it? Well, so many things in the movie that happen are nonsensical. When the satellite is approaching the Earth, they show Saturn going by with rings, it appears, and they show the moon in the background, not the Earth. What's going on there? When they're going to launch the satellite, the crazy scientist, Tony Huston. Well, his name was Keith Ritchie in the movie. Keith Ritchie. What does he do? He tries to stop the launch. He tells Dr. Taylor, no, you don't want to launch it. You'll be sorry. And then, after it's up there, he's in the bed. He's doing things with Zontar. But he was talking to Zontar before this. So if he already was trying to get Zontar to come to the Earth, why was he trying to stop the launch of the satellite? Makes no sense. He says the satellite was pulled out of orbit to Venus, where Zontar hitched a ride and then got to the Earth. They didn't show it landing. That would have required some special effects. That makes no sense. Going to Venus and then coming back again a few hours later. What's with everything not working, including water? So water in nearly all areas, you can get water because it's gravity fed. You just turn on the faucet, and it's gravity fed from a water tower somewhere. Why would that stop? If you say, well, maybe water flowing through pipes stopped, but realize that Dr. Kurt Taylor's wife, Ann Taylor, She went and emptied the hot water heater into something, and that worked. So why didn't the water faucet work? Made no sense. There were 3 women killed. Needless, I mean, just crazily. We don't see men killed in the brutal way. So the woman scientist was killed by the other scientist by horrible strangulation for no good reason. We saw Kurt Taylor kill his wife Ann Taylor by shooting her up close for no reason. She wasn't threatening him. He could have locked her in someplace or knocked her out or done something, or carried her away at gunpoint. But he just killed her. That made no sense at all. And then the other woman that was killed, Keith's wife, Martha Ritchie, she was killed in some unknown way by the monster, Zontar, for no reason. He killed her for no reason, and I don't know. Everybody else could run away, but she was killed. So I really think it was, it was very sexist. They killed 3 women for no reason. Zontar himself barely moves. They had no reason to do any special effects. He just barely moves. His little flying creature that they put on a string and pulled around, it moved around. The ones that delivered the injectopod, but he himself never moved. Boring. How come the handheld laser with no power source was designed for communication to Venus? Why does it kill people? That doesn't make much sense. How come at the end of the movie suddenly there's a Jacob's ladder bzz, bzz, going up at the control center? There's no reason to have that there. It wasn't there earlier. Why was everybody running in the town? Dr. Taylor even asked somebody, and he didn't get an answer. Why was everybody running in the town? Where were they going? Where were they going from? Nobody knows. The radio didn't work. The electronics didn't work. Why were they running? No reason. So the plot stunk in 5BB.
Well, thank you, Bill. So I've written this down. The plot stunk. That was the summary. Okay. Next up is NT5TM, Tony. The plot. You mentioned, you said, no, you did not see the movie. No, you did not see the movie. Tony, would you like to see the movie? Would you consider yourself unbiased and willing to watch this film, Zontar, the Thing from Venus, from KE5ICX?
Well, no, I do not consider myself unbiased. I trust you and Bill and Brenda and Michael and all the others on this net, and since all of you sounded pretty skeptical, I don't think I'd like to see it. I wanted to insert here a shameless plug, since this is the target audience. Our surprise net this Monday, at 7 p.m., the W5FC repeater 146.88, is going to be Name That Movie. JJ-N5IMS has gotten us off to a great start. We're going to be looking at quotes and song titles and possibly other bits of movie trivia, and you will have to name the movie. Now, I do not have nearly enough material. JJ has been working hard. Aaron has been busy. But there are others here. KE5ICX, WT9V, N5BB, WB50ZL, and others who love movies. If you have good clues for our surprise net on Monday, please send them to November Tango 5 Tango Mike at w5fc.org, nt5tm at w5fc.org. Heck, you can look me up on QRZ, and guess what? That's what my email address is. So I am not unbiased. I do have type A blood for avian. That's why I always check into MCOM 101 as Birdman, because I've got bird blood apparently. And I am just so far from being unbiased, because if none of you like this movie, I'm not willing to watch it either. I really just wanted to promote SurpriseNet to the people who would love it best, because all the best movie people are right here. NT5TM.
Very good. Thank you, Tony. And yes, you had an announcement. I didn't write it down. I didn't put an asterisk or anything, so you got stuck in the rotation. I will send you stuff up. You're right. This group just loves movies, even good ones. So send Tony your suggestions. Now, I'm going to recommend one thing. If you participate, and we probably all are, if you put the quote in, don't answer. Allow others to do so. Even though there's a fantastic prize at the end, I don't know what that prize will be. Probably nothing, but if there is a prize. So, you know, the thing is, you're at a tactical disadvantage if you send a bunch of suggestions in, and then those suggestions are aired, and you're not allowed to respond. But who knows? You can still declare victory, because your questions will never be answered well. Their questions will be. Next up is Burl, K-F-I-T-S-K. Burl saw the movie. He has positive blood, not negative blood. I have T-negative blood. Burl has positive blood. Burl, tell us about the plot for Zontar, the Thing from Venus, from KE5I6.
This KF5TSK. I don't know what to say about this movie. You know, the first thing that was really, I guess, unusual to me is that every control panel had a fluid control valve on it, and I was like, why is that there? And, you know, they were, you know, trying to highlight that they had tape drives, and it's like, well, that's good. They have a satellite that, well, they can tell it to go into space, and they can tell it to return from space. And, you know, the computer does everything. And so many things is just unbelievable that one of the things that really struck me is Alice, the lady technician, she was knocked out. And when she woke up, she says, is there any coffee left? No, we don't have any more coffee. And she says, I'll make more coffee. I assumed that, you know, with the ladies in white coats that we'd make the whole movie, and I have the ladies making coffee and sandwiches, but that did happen. You know, why would a creature come from Venus to the Earth? You know, it's like, you know, it's rather cool here as compared to Venus. So many things just seem to be out of place that, you know, a bat that has intelligence. When did that happen? KF5TSK back to net.
All right, thank you, Burl. And you seem to be somewhat confused by the tones and the fact that the script was somewhat incomprehensible. So I think the tones had something to do with it. N5HYP, Tom and Company et al., your extended posse, everybody around you, including yourself, tell us about the plot for this film. By the way, would you explain the AMSAT locally for us too, because I didn't call you on the phone to find out. So all of those things above, and remember to dot your T's and cross your I's from KE5ICX.
Crossing my I's is not difficult because that's kind of normal for me. This is N5HYP, and this is the second time through for this net for this movie. We saw it once before, and it was no better this time than the first time. In fact, it was so unmemorable, I guess, as we went halfway through the movie, and then Holly went, "Yeah, we did see this already." The plot was incomprehensible. It was incredibly poorly written and conceived. I personally liked one of the lines I read in an IMDb user review. It stated, well, the director could probably never really afford to make a movie depicting invaders from Venus, so they came up with a movie that was the next best thing. People talking about invaders coming from Venus. To me, the most bizarre plot ploy in this movie was because they couldn't really afford to show much in the way of special effects or anything to depict invaders, Zontar, coming from Venus. Basically, you had Dr. Ritchie, who's talking to Zontar on this really bizarre radio set, relaying back, basically, he is telling us the whole plot of how Zontar is going to take over the Earth. Instead of Zontar revealing it, basically Dr. Ritchie reveals it by talking back everything that he hears from Zontar. So that was just a really bizarre plot device. There were just a lot of things that, like Bill says, make no sense. Everybody panics and they just kind of run around randomly in funny orders. There were lots of just funny little plot ploys that didn't make sense. It was really, really random. It felt like a high school film project in a way that unfortunately the people who were filming it were well beyond high school. So my concept of the plot is there was none. It was weird, and it was funny just because of that. This is N5HYP back to net.
Thank you, Tom, and that was a very descriptive, mentally challenging and successful response to, never mind. Okay, next up is K5ANE, that's Kane. He's in Richardson. He has human blood, and yes, he saw this film. You better help us out here because nobody's doing a good job on the plot. From KE5ICX.
This is K5ANE. Been absent for a little bit. I'll probably end up missing next week, but I'd love to net control again, maybe in 2 weeks. Just throwing that out there. I'm going to end up being just a single round here. I hope I'm coming in okay. I'm over at my normal place. And yeah, so I'm just going to go ahead and talk about a few different things about this movie. So, yeah, I actually kind of liked it in its formatting and cinematic way. Definitely not plot. The plot was terrible. But it was interesting watching, like, a obviously made-for-TV movie from the 1960s. Most people don't end up really watching those kinds of things. They largely get lost. That said, though, this plot really did move pretty slowly in many ways. It took forever to really have things really start happening, and it felt like most of the movie was like the first 15 to 20 minutes of like a regular movie of today. And it's also weird that it's this like made for TV, and yet it's really drawing everything out. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Yeah, I mean, it's the sci-fi monster movie thing. They had to have some kind of monster, so that's why it's this weird flying around rubber dummy bat thing. Some friends that told me that it definitely looked more like a bird or a bat or something like that than an alien. And yeah, just overall it was just super cheesy in many ways. I do have to say, I almost feel personally attacked about this movie. It's all about, if you look at it in a certain perspective, it's all about an amateur radio guy goes crazy listening to weird noises in space and thinks that, aliens are talking to him and the world ends. And, you could just see it as this is entirely his madness, and he's just going more and more insane and acting like the world doesn't work and everything's broken in society, and the only thing that makes sense anymore are these weird noises I hear on my radio. Meanwhile, all of his friends are leaving him, calling him mad. His wife feels that he's super distant, and he just continues to see the world fall apart around him. Nothing works right. Nothing stays together. People are going crazy. And it's everybody else that's wrong, not me. Kind of crazy, though. I mean, it's... and then you see it, it's like, well, actually, no, there really are aliens, and they're landing everywhere. This guy isn't crazy. So, very strange. Very strange movie indeed. That's it for me. This is K5ANE, back to net control once again. That was my last time.
All right, thank you, Kane, and you say the last time, but I'll call on you on the next round just to see if you're still out there. Which reminds me, and here was my Afterglow info, because that really fit in with what I thought about the movie, too. And I'll read this, just takes a second. Dr. Keith Ritchie was a dedicated NASA scientist, ham radio operator. He had the distinction of having earned the ARRL Works All Planets Award, and he wasn't shy about telling this to his colleague and friend, Dr. Kurt Taylor. Taylor rolled his eyes. You could see Ritchie was about to make a big brouhaha about his latest contact. Ritchie launched his announcement, "Kurt, I made contact with Zontar on Venus. It was a 9 contact. He's coming to the house for an eyeball QSO. He's peachy keen. Did I also tell you I got a new rig?" Ritchie droned on as Taylor thought about happier things, such as doing his taxes. There you have it. Now, moving on to, by the way, the movie we're talking about is Zontar, the Thing from Venus from 1966, which apparently was a remake of another film that we didn't care about. Next up, WT9V, Michael. His blood is red. He did see this film. I think he's in Richardson or somewhere. I don't know where the hell he's probably in orbit. WT9V, your thoughts on the plot from KE5ICX.
I thought we were friends, and you've already forgotten where I am and who I am and why you talk to me. But fine, be that way. I just don't understand. I mean, Bill spent 5 minutes telling us why he didn't understand the movie. Everybody else hates it. This was a masterpiece. The acting was superb. The sets were incredible. The plot. No, I'm sorry, I can't do it anymore. I did think of make a few comments that I have to read you before possibly vamping for a little bit more. I don't know. We'll see what that does. Right at the beginning, during the after dinner scene, where, I don't know, one of them says, "I'll have half a cup, hun." And I thought, Jim never has another half cup at home. Shades of Airplane. And yes, I know that's not exactly what it said. Also, something I learned from this movie, generals don't know how to work phones. You never see some highfalutin, military type. Apparently, when they get promoted that high up, the part of their brain that allows them to pick up a phone and make a phone call doesn't work anymore. They always tell somebody else to get somebody on the line. Oh, and Mr. Tom S., as opposed to Tom G., since I got griped at last time for not differentiating my Toms, what I think I heard you say about this film is that you weren't as successful at forgetting this movie after watching it the first time as you wished you were. So I wish you more luck in forgetting that this film exists this time. WT90.
Well, thank you, Michael. And by the way, just to make a comment, last week's movie, which name I've completely forgotten since last week, this was basically the same frickin' plot. Just to let you know. Same story, different added special effects. Next up is KG5BZW. That would be Jay near Weatherford. You saw the movie. He's over on Echolink. Tell us what you think about the plot. You must have a breakout story here from KE5I6.
This is KG5BCW. I might be on Echolink, but I am broadcasting. Y'all are coming in quite well. The repeater's coming in quite well. Instead of I don't know. I'm not sure how to read this radio. Talking about this radio's signal measuring capabilities is a little bit more fun than discussing this movie because, I don't know. I'm really struggling with what to say that hasn't already been said. Try to make some fun out of this. I mean, the all things mechanical stopping. Well, I mean, and what do not animals with human muscle heart valves? Is that not mechanical? That generally. I mean, when mass is moving around like that, it's definitely mechanical, but hey, whatever. The point Bill made about, not even a mechanical, gravity should still work, kind of overrides that point. Gosh, this movie just kept on not making sense. There's a lot of movies I like to forget, and honestly, there's, I guess I've been fairly successful at forgetting them, and probably will be successful too in a few weeks. But man, I'm just still kind of shocked at just how many times things just don't make sense in this film. Could there be a good film in this mess? I mean, not really the mess, just, the whole, theme, I don't know, maybe, was last week's. I'm surprised how much worse this is than last week's, and last week's was not that good. I really almost want to know if this is something somebody made to test the, how to say this, people that have, memory issues and, if they see if people can be entertained if they have memory issues and watch this. I don't know. It's just so weird.
I think I've actually ranted on long enough on just the plot details. And I'm heading to the next person, KG5BZW.
Thank you, Jay. We'll come back to you for another frustrating round in a few minutes. And this is KE5ICX. We are discussing the movie Zontar, The Thing from Venus, the exciting and incredibly popular 16mm film shown on, apparently, TV in 1966. And we all watched it not once but twice, because this is the second time we reviewed this movie, because I was told so, even though I probably slept through the first one. I did sleep through the second one. Okay, we're moving on to, let's see, let me check off Jay, not check off the navigator, but Jay, the guy near Weatherford. Next up, KF5 PDS, Miss Billy and Sherman. You saw this film. You have deeper thoughts on this film that we have been unable to break through. So tell us, what's the special part of this film, plot-wise, that you need to tell us, because we really need to know. From KE5ICX.
Well, thanks. You mentioned falling asleep, because I actually watched it last night and I fell asleep towards the end. And so I watched it again today, and I fell asleep in the middle, but at least I watched the end. So I think with 2 viewings, I slept in different places, so I think I got 1 viewing out of it. And I do remember when we did this previously, because I remember the radio in the closet. Yeah, watching it this time, though, I don't know what to think about this. It was boring. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, it was a long hour and 20 minutes. I agree with earlier plot holes and things that were discussed. I often wondered what Zontar's was for getting in touch with Earthlings. It was like just to see if he could take over the Earth, or was there something going on Venus that caused him to leave, or what was Zontar's motivation behind this? I was just wondering, because it's like why do this? And I think somebody already touched on, like if he was trying to stop the satellite, then why was he talking to Zontar 2 months ahead of time? Another thing I thought that was laughable was when he called the Dr. Kurt Taylor on the phone and he said, "I've got the only working phone." It's like, well, obviously you don't, because you're talking to this guy, so he's got a working phone too. So yeah, details that just were left out, and something's wrong when scientists turn down a cup of coffee. There's strange things afoot. But I don't know. I couldn't really find any deeper anything in this film. The acting was terrible. Was so one-dimensional, except for the wife. I mean, she at least, her over-the-top emotings, at least showed some emotion, but it's like, how would you know if Zontar took over everybody? Because it said, they took away everybody's emotions, but the acting was so emotionless to begin with. It's like, how would you know who had been taken over? Because there was no discernible difference. But at least, I guess, after Zontar took over, they had an excuse for their terrible acting. So I don't have any real, gems of wisdom to pour on this one. It's just, it was just a craptacular crap fest. It was fun to watch again. It's always good when you get a schlock, movie to watch. It was I guess a sweet rig he had, but I guess when you go outside the bandwidth of the band plan, this is the kind of thing that can happen. Anyway, I really don't have anything else to add on the plot, except it seemed a lot longer than it should have. It just drug on and on and on. They really did drag things out, and not in a good way. So I really don't have anything else to add. So with that, I'll return it to you, Tom. This is KF5PDS. Back to Matt.
All right, thank you, Miss Billy. I guess I thought you would pull out a deeper inner meaning on that one, but okay. Moving on is James, KG5PMN. James, your thoughts on Zontar, the Thing from Venus, from 1966. The plot, please, from KE5I6.
This is Kilo Gold 5, Papa Mike November, James up here in Oklahoma. Yeah, the plot, I guess it started and it ended, and kind of flowed through the middle, I guess, but rather ridiculous plot. The writing wasn't very good. A lot of it's already been mentioned, except I wondered, a couple of things got to me. When she came out of the bathroom, the lights were on in the house. That part of the house, there was enough light on for filming and everything, and even the control center appeared to be windowless, but there was enough light to film with, even though the power was out. How does that happen? Looks like everything would have been completely dark. After dark, everything would have been completely dark in there. Nobody could have seen anything. One of the other things that kind of got to me is it looked like where that cave was supposed to be. The entrance was a concrete culvert, like under a highway. And couldn't figure that one out. Didn't really care for, when he said all the water was off and the electricity and everything was shut down and nothing worked, and she turns the garden hose on. Oh yeah, they didn't turn my water off. And it's just a bunch of little ridiculous things like that that went throughout the whole movie. Back to the net, KG5PMN.
All right, very good, James. I take that as a no. You did not like the film, even though it was very likable in very minute ways. This is KE5I6 from Net Control for tonight's Afterglow Movie Net. The movie we're discussing this evening is Zontar, the Thing from Venus from 1966. I'll take additional check-ins if you're out there, and you dare to check in, you should, because this is important. Please come with your call sign, your name, where you're transmitting from, your blood type, and did you see Zontar, the Thing from Venus? Please come now.
Kilo Golf 5, Zombies Need Jobs. Frank and Flower Mound, and I only saw a little bit of this fine film, and my blood type is H for Hoser. KG5ZNJ.
KG5CNJ, Frank and Flower Mound. H for Hoser. Yes, you saw part of the film. Frank, tell us your thoughts on the plot. You're now on the clock, my friend. Please go ahead from KE5I6.
Kilo Golf 5, Zombies Need Jobs. Well, you see, I think I've figured out the hidden message of this film, and I would like you to hear this one out. You see, I looked at Keith, and you see, he had a Dijon yellow sports jacket for this movie, and it reminded me of something. You know, back in the 70s and in the 80s, you had these very smug, elitist people that wore these gold sports coats, and they were known as Century 21 realtors. And they had nothing but commercials and You know, it was all about them being smarter and better than everybody else, at least to my eyes. So this fellow Keith, endowed with this Century 21 jacket, he started thinking he was a little bit better than you and I. And pretty soon he started thinking that maybe he wanted to rule the Earth. And perhaps the way to do that would be to join the great brotherhood of the countless galaxies. And the way he did it was through amateur radio. You see, he made MSAT QSOs with some Venusian rubber bats using the hyperspace hypnotic protocol. So the hidden message here is that realtors should never be allowed to be amateur radio operators. Back to you, population control, KG5ZNJ.
Well, thank you, Frank, and it's amazing. Your comments are received and well understood, I guessing. So, let's see. I'll go ahead and make my comments on the plot. And this plot is the same as, what was the movie we saw last week? Somebody told me earlier, Invaders from Mars. So it's like Invaders from Mars, only from Venus, doing the same thing. Got the little fin thing in the back of the head. Yeah, they got that. They've got military people going crazy and demanding justice and doing things. Wait a minute, what? Brenda says, oh, I double-clicked on it. Never mind. Brenda, I will... Oh, I crossed you out like you didn't care. I will come back to you in just a moment. Do you want a turn? She wants a turn. I missed Brenda because I checked her off before she was checked off. Hold on. I will come back to you in just a moment, Brenda, as soon as I give the master class on this fine film. So, the thing about it is this, is that, what is wrong with humans? Why are they so stupid? Why are the aliens so stupid? Why does this alien from Venus look like, that thing that we don't want to talk about? Because it looked like that thing you don't want to talk about. It only shows up later. By the way, how does the guy who's talking to, what was his name? I forgot already. The secondly main character, Kurt, played by John Agar. No, Keith Ritchie. Keith is in there with his ham radio set, and he has no microphone. Where's the microphone? What is he? He talks into a dial. Well, we've all done that before, but we weren't sober at the time that we did it, and we don't get a response back. But, Zondar always fine to him. He goes, and then somehow or another we're supposed to understand what that is. Come on. We all know that Keith is, no wife hates him because he's spending his time looking in the closet with the folding door thing and talking to his buddy Zontar. Now, we all know that this is a cruising for a bruising from the XYL. That somehow or another she or it could be it could be a friend, it could be a neighbor who has put a pin through your coaxial cable because you've interrupted their television. Whatever it is, we all know that talking to a closet and then a radio in a closet masquerading as a shack is going to get you in trouble. Zontar getting top billing while the wifey gets second billing is a bad idea. A very bad idea. Everybody turn your radios down because somebody could be hearing in the next room. So I don't know. Somehow or another, the tension from that alone is what really upset me. And, of course, injectopods, yeah, I got a bunch around the house. I use them all the time. Okay, back to Brenda. WB5OZL. I'm sorry I missed you. I don't know why. I even circled your name, and I put a happy face. Was it the other one? Brenda, please, go ahead with your comments on the plot. I'll put you back in the rotation. Somehow or another, I dropped you out. I don't know why. Please go ahead from KE5I6.
This is WB5OZL. You know, you can cross me out, but you can never negate me. I still exist, no matter what. Well, I heard this rumor that what happened to Zontar back on Venus, he spent too much time talking on the radio, and his wife got mad and threw his radios in the dumpster. So he took off, went to Earth, and, you know, who can blame him? Now, the radio set there that what Keith had, I've never seen such an elaborate set back from the 60s. I don't know what all those pieces were. You know, most people have a transmitter and a receiver, maybe, and power supply and speaker, but I don't know what all that other stuff did, and I'd like an explanation of that. And yeah, no microphone, that was pretty bad. I have a little bit different take on this movie. It had great cars. I have had several land barges myself. They had great clothes. I had clothes like that in the 60s and wore little heels with them. We were very stylish. And my hair, the wife that was blonde, my hair looked just like that. And believe me, it's kind of hard to accomplish. You have to sleep in rollers. And I object to Zontar being called a thing. I just think that's kind of insensitive. Another weird thing, if you look at the poster, hold on. All night long I've been holding a very needy cat, so I have to do things with one hand. The button on the movie poster is the eye creatures. That makes no sense at all. Oh, wait a minute. I see. That was a sci-fi double feature. So we missed the eye creatures, which is supposed to be paired with Zontar. We need to dig them up and look at those. Also, one thing I found lacking is the monster didn't carry some woman off after her clothes being half ripped. For some reason, monsters fancy these pretty women and pick them up and carry them off. But Zontar didn't do that. Or maybe he hasn't gotten over his wife yet. And he found a sulfur spring-filled cavern. Never seen such a thing as that. I mean, what exactly is a sulfur spring? I don't know. Let's see. Loved all the Sage 7 sets. Lots of flashy lights and buttons and knobs and dials. They had great sets. I'll have to say that. Oh, and they all had lab coats. There's just so much good about this movie if you just look on the bright side. But the plot was not one of the brighter points. The plot was stupid. But, you know, what can I say? All righty. I'm okay for now. WB5OZL.
Well, thank you, Miss Brenda. This is KE5ICX. My name is Tom. I'm net control tonight, roll control for Zontar, the Thing from Venus, another alien invasion movie. You can't get enough of them. Last week it was from Mars. This week it's from Venus. And you know, men are from and women, then Zontar is from Venus. Okay, let's see. Any additional check-ins at this point? I'll take them if you are out there and you would like to join us. We're talking about the fine film Zontar, the Thing from Venus from 1966. This is our second review, as I was reminded of from very disgruntled participants on this net. Anyone else want to join us? Please come now with your call sign, your name, where you're transmitting from, your blood type, and did you see Zontar from Venus? Please come now. All right, fine. I get the feeling that people are hiding when they should be out here not protesting, but emphasizing the great parts of Zontar, the Thing from Venus. Okay, our next round is characterization. This should be good. Characterization. And by the way, always mention how many times you see people in lab coats doing that, putting their hands in the pockets. There was that. It's irresistible. So we'll start with Bill, N5BB. Bill, get your notes out. We're talking about characterization from KE5ICX.
This is N5BB. Well, did you notice the one sexy scene in the movie? You probably missed it, but it was there. It was when they had to sleep in the lab, in the control center, and the camera turns on to see the woman technician who's lying on a cot or something in her slip, in her underwear. She gets up and she puts on her lab coat, so you then know she's wearing nothing under that lab coat except for her slip. And then she moseys on into the main control room where she gets killed. Oh, boy. Characterization. Oh, man. The poor lady. She had very few lines, and they were usually, she was twisting knobs when looking up and saying, I don't know what's going on here. That was about the level of her lines. The other people in the control center were no better. Even before they were zombies, they had no brains before they got the neck treatment, and after they got the neck treatment, they were no better. Characterization. Well, there's no other place to talk about this. Larry Buchanan was the co-writer and the director and I guess producer of this film. He went to high school in Dallas. He is from Lost Prairie, Texas, which is east of Waco. He went to high school in Dallas, and he turned down a religion scholarship at Baylor in Waco to get into films, and evidently he filmed this movie at the Casa Linda area off of Buckner in Dallas, which is just a few blocks from Tony's house. So if we look around over there somewhere in East Dallas, we'll probably find that culvert. And I thought I couldn't get a good shot of them, picture of them, but I think they were Texas license plates. They were definitely Texas-looking cars, you know, from the era that somebody in Texas would have been driving. So Larry Buchanan was a Dallas kid, a North Texas kid. So, wow, that explains a lot. That's where a lot of the schlocky directors seem to come from, Texas. What else? Let's see. Characterization. the characters all played pretty stiffly, except for the wife of Dr. Keith of Ritchie. So Martha Ritchie, the actress, was Pat Delaney. She totally overplayed that. There's one scene where, for some unknown reason, she is looking off to your right. She's not looking at him. She's looking off at somebody else over there feeding her something. I don't know what she's looking at. While she's making this long soliloquy about humanity and what he's doing and the worth of life, I don't know. She's going all over the place. They probably had it written over there on a big board, and she's probably reading it. That's probably why she's looking that way. So she then gets over the top, and she goes and finds the car and that working car and the gun, and goes and tries to shoot the monster. So she went over the top. So there's the characterization there. There were no other characters quite like that. Now, what's interesting as far as the characterization, did you notice Dr. Kurt Taylor, it was John Agar, did you notice that when he went to the site that was all locked up, did you notice him jump right over the fence when he went in? And I was looking carefully. When he went out, he did the same thing. He was an athlete. In the Army, he was a physical instructor. So he taught physical instruction in the Army. So little did you know. Let's see, what else? The police chief was the normal police chief, a bumbling idiot. The military guy, whatever he was, the colonel or general, whatever he was, he was a bumbling idiot. And did you notice the Army grunts? They were kind of stupid, but one in particular was the country bumpkin, the Gomer Pyle. He kept saying something. I forget the phrase he said. There's one word he said, and the way he said it was rather country sounding, and they were making fun of him. But he is the one that discovered Zontar in the cave. So, very stereotypical. Well, what else is there to say? Not much in 5BB.
Oh, Bill, I have a real tendency to agree with you on that. I'm not going to say it. Moving on, let me go to NT5TM. Tony, are you still there? If you are, 2X2L calling CQ. No, that's from War of the Worlds, and it was from Mars. Tony, if you're still there, any comments about this movie you missed from KE5ICX?
Yes, I feel so lucky and refreshed. Aaron and I have been looking at movie quotes and movie trivia to get ready for the surprise net. You're all very welcome to help with this. NT5TM at W5SC.org with your quotes or music score items that you'd like to mention. We'd love to have people help name that movie this Monday night for the surprise net. I was just, thinking about some interesting, obscure movie music items. And I was thinking how lucky I was not to have seen any of the non-characters in this film. NT5TM.
All right, well, thank you, Tony. I do have a question for you. So you're going to do musical motifs as well, and what does that entail from KE5ICX?
Well, it won't entail any singing. JJ had suggested that we might mention some of the famous soundtrack items as well as movie quotes, and I think that's just fine. Like if I mention Ashokan Farewell, someone had better come back with the Endless Ken Burns Civil War documentary as the answer. There will be no singing, and we're going to try to mostly do quotes. And I certainly love suggestions of either quotes or famous soundtrack items. If you want to send them to nt5tm at w5sc.org. Shameless plug, shameless plug. But yeah, both quotes and soundtrack items. You're going to have to be content with the title of the soundtrack item, or perhaps the composer, because we can't hum it or sing it. This is amateur radio, NT5TM.
All right, Tony. Well, I'm going to throw one out there right now, and then you can add it or otherwise. But I'm going to say there's one main motion picture movie theme that appeared in 3 different motion pictures. 2 of those motion pictures as the main theme, the opening credits theme, and then the third one was in a very popular Steven Spielberg film. Okay, that should be enough, and I probably spoiled it for everyone. Maybe not. Who knows? All right, next up is Burl, KF5TSK. Burl. You have positive blood. What did you think about the characterization in this fine film, or FF, from KE5ICX?
This is KF5TSK. Well, the first thing I noticed was, Zontar had no voice. It was always Keith Ritchie always saying what Zontar said. In fact, Zontar is not a character. And I was trying to look at the characters and figure out who they were, and, well, just who were these characters that, and the thing that kept going over my mind was I saw 22,000, and my first thought, I'm always thinking 22 million, and I went back to, it was 22,000 to make the whole movie, because one of the things was the satellite itself. It looked like it was made out of foam, and it was just spinning. And it was like, what did they do with all that money? But I mean, for what they spent, this was a great deal that they got. One of the other things in the movie that I thought was a problem was, the wife got upset and says, Zontar, you're destroying families, you're killing people, you're trying to take over the world, and I'm coming to get you. And she took the gun and went into the cave, and she saw Zontar, and she didn't shoot. And supposedly she saw these bad creatures, and she didn't shoot. And the thing about the bad creatures was, supposedly they could only hatch like 8 at a time, and so many hours between the number that they could produce. And I was wondering what happened to the wife. I heard her yell, but I didn't know what happened to her. KF5TSK, back to net.
Oh, Burl, she went to make another pot of coffee. Jeez, don't you know anything about scripts? Next up is N5HYP, Tom and Irving. I don't have you scratched off the list, so I think you've got additional comments on characterization. No, I know you have comments on characterization. Please go ahead from KE5ICX.
This is N5HYP. Well, for Burl, she was the script girl, so that was one of the things she would have to do is do the coffee. There was one other little comment, and Burl kind of alluded to it, but, the injectopods, the fact that Zontar could only make 8 of them. So you're going to take over the world 8 people at a time. That's kind of the amazing part here. It's kind of like just really slow to... characterization, everybody was stereotypical. Typical. Military guy was a typical general type guy. Like Bill said, the police chief or the sheriff was kind of bumbling. There was no character development because there were no characters. Just overall, it was, I couldn't help but thinking this is something that, if you guys remember, Weird Al Yankovic's movie FM, how they had to, just developing the most cheesy programs, but people really loved it. I kind of felt like this movie probably could have been made in that vein there, and it worked out pretty well. Or Holly also mentioned the concept of that from a writing standpoint. It felt like an Ed Wood movie, where he was kind of writing the script as they went along, and which also doesn't really bode well for developing characters. So that's it for me. I have to hit the hay because I got to get up early. 73 to all. Take care. We'll find out what next week is, and hopefully we'll be here. It's N5HYP. Back to them.
Okie dokie, Tom, and yes, I will send an email out. I'll go ahead and make the announcement now. Don't forget, if you would like to be part of the Afterglow Movie Net and find out what movie is next, you can go to facebook.com and then look for Afterglow Movie. That's 2 words, Afterglow Movie, and sign up there. Also, you can send an email to me, KE5ICX, Kilo Echo 5 India Charlie X-Ray at yahoo.com, and say you'd like to be on the list. So there's also, now that Facebook's changed everything around, just go in the files area for Afterglow Movie and look for the upcoming Afterglow Movie list, and you'll get movies 3 weeks into the future. Next week's movie was a suggestion from Alan. Space Battleship Yamato from 2010, based on the, let me reset. Based on the very popular anime series from the 1970s. This is a live-action show. We've never seen it before. I've never seen it before. Space Battleship Yamato from 2010. So put that down in your notes, as well as if you want to be informed either way. Next up is Kane. Now, he may have gone away. He's kind of suggested he might have, but if his radio's still on, K5ANE. Kane, if you're still there, give us your comments on characterization. All right, I suspected he was gone, so no harm, no foul. Now remember, we're back on normal repeater time, so you may want to drop carrier a couple of times while you're giving your descriptions. So WT9V, that's Michael. His blood is red. He did see the movie. He's somewhere, someplace. Plano, I guess. Michael, your comments on characterization. Go ahead, from KE5ICX.
All right, fine. My comments are that the people were very forgettable, so I kind of forgot them already. But I liked the architecture. I really liked what I saw of the design of the two houses. I mean, maybe they were just sets, I don't know, exterior, but they looked like houses. But it was really, it wasn't the same drab, boring bleh that you see everywhere. It's like somebody actually put some thought into designing them and making them look kind of cool. Maybe that's just the way everything was in whatever neighborhood they filmed that in. Also, I liked the caverns. The caverns were good. There were a lot of caverns toward the end, and I liked that. People, not so much. 1790.
This was characterization, and you're talking about caverns? They were well lit. Okay. Okay, do say so. KE5BZWJ, characterization, you better pull us out of this from KE5ICX.
Caverns and classes have character. Okay. I'm trying to keep it short, but there isn't much to remember, and I mean, we could go into, I haven't really seen anybody try to, or heard anybody try to analyze, the main character. Completely forgot his name. I'm actually more curious what that trope is. I may have to go to tvtropes.com and see if I can find it. Because, that it's kind of interesting to discuss the friend that befriends the villain and all that, and I don't know if you see that too often. I mean, that might be interesting to talk about, but I mean, not on this film, really. Man, not really anything else I can think of. I gotta just hand it to the next person. KG5BTW.
Oh my, they're fading fast. Well, KFI PBS, Billy says, oh, she's gone now and has to knock over a department store. Oh no, 7-Eleven. KG5PMN, that's James in Oklahoma, somewhere out there. Your thoughts on characterization, go ahead, from KE5ICX.
This is KG5PMN. I thought the characters, this would have been a good movie for I'll Leave It to Beaver style. One of the things that they would into town and watch a matinee, the double feature matinee with. Be kind of the thing that they did back when they were filming that TV series. The characters, they were mostly kind of flat or kind of lost, and when everybody was running around in town, the police chief was looking around like, my impression was like, where is everybody going? What's going on? I don't understand anything. I don't know if it ever explained why the people had taken off running into town or not. I know the town was supposed to be evacuated or something like that at some point in time, but everybody just was kind of flat except for the I guess the two civilian characters in there and their wives. They seem to have a bit more spunk than the rest of the people in the movie. But I don't know, everybody was just kind of on the flat side and one-dimensional. Back to the net, KG5PMN.
All right, James, and actually the acting was just pretty wooden, like balsa wood. All right, right, let's see. I'm going to Frank. Frank, you better be out there. KG5 Zombies Need Jobs. Frank, your thought on characterization from KE5ICX.
This is KG5ZNJ. Say, that's a powerful looking set. I've never seen anything like it before. Where'd you get it? I got it at Gigaparts with the Smile 40 savings coupon. That was my favorite line. Now, Keith and Kurt were pretty good characters, but my favorite was General Brassbottom from Roger Ramjet. He was by far the best guy. I don't have much else to say because I'm pretty tired, and I'm going to retire to my den. Whatever happened to dens? Everybody used to have a den in their house. They don't exist anymore. I miss that. Den. Anyways, back to humanoid control. KG5ZNJ.
Well, thank you, Frank. And I don't have a den. I don't even know where a den's supposed to be in a house, but I have a wet bar. My favorite part in the house. It's right over there. I'm pointing on the video. Well, wait a minute. I'm pointing at the video. It's over there. In case you want to know, there's a margarita machine, too. So I don't need no frickin' den. I have a wet bar. All right, my thoughts on the characterization. Terrible. Terrible. Everybody was stereotypical. We all knew that. The acting, which I guess goes with characterization or lack thereof, was pretty bad. What do you do with these people? They're all acting poorly. I don't know. It's just not overly impressed. I was constantly taken out of the scene because the acting was not convincing. Also, and this is a technical aspect that goes into the next part, why do they take the microphones and put them in the next, out in the parking lot or across the street? Because that's what it sounded like, and it always ends up being an amateur production when you do that. So overall, this film was also, a rip-off character with, what was it, Day the Earth Stood Still and all of that, so amongst other plots that we've already discussed. So, I don't know, Invaders from Mars, another one, so, wasn't very good. All right, this is what I'm going to do. We are talking about Xantar, the Thing from Venus. I'm going to go ahead and open it up to any comments from anywhere. Please come with your call sign. I'll take you in order. Please come now. Any comments on anything? Music, special effects or not so special, characterization, plot, lack of plot, you're just cranky, whatever you want. Please come with your call sign now.
N5BB.
I'm claiming my turn.
Fight! N5BB, I'll get on after Brenda, which you keep ignoring.
It wasn't on purpose, but I may do this going forward. WB50ZL, I still have this, I've got the list here, and somehow or another I've got you crossed off, so I just ignore it. I'm sorry. WB50ZL, Miss Brenda, go ahead.
How many different ways can you invalidate me? I'm gonna cry. Characterization. I thought, these people are stupid. Weird stuff happens and nobody says, hey, look at that. That was kind of weird. And it's like the stupidest people on the earth. And they just kind of took things in stride and didn't seem to react to things very much. I thought that was a real weak point in the characters. But I do kind of like John Agar. I like some other stuff he's done. This tends to be his shtick, I think. I don't know if he was ever in a really good movie, but he made lots of movies. And it was so typical 60s in terms of the way people acted and reacted, and especially the married couples, the reaction they had to each other is so 60s sitcom-ish and not realistic at all. It's late. I'm not going to hold everybody up, but I wanted my turn. So WB5OZL.
All right, thank you, Miss Brenda. And really, I didn't mean to cut you off like that. I may do this in the future. This is kind of fun. Okay, Bill, N5BB, your comments on anything you want, T5I6.
This is N5BB. Well, I just realized after going through essentially all the people involved with this film, this is a Dallas film, okay? I doubt you chose it because of that. As I mentioned earlier, it was filmed a few blocks from Tony's house over in the Casa Linda shopping center area. Is where some of the outdoor scenes around the town were done. And the director, Larry Buchanan, was from Texas and was in the Dallas area. The police chief in the movie was Bill Thurman. He was from Texas, and he died in 1995 in Dallas. And this is amazing. Remember the General Young? Remember the old crusty general? His name was Neil Fletcher. He and his brother founded Fletcher's original State Fair Carny Dogs. That's right, Fletcher's Carny Dogs. One of the two guys that founded it was the general. One of the rocket scientists was Jeff Alexander. He died in 1998 in Dallas. Martha Ritchie, the wife of the Ritchie guy, she was born in Austin. Her name was Pat Delaney. The guard at Zone 6, the gate guard, his name was Jonathan Ledford. He died in 1984 in Dallas. Remember the old newspaper editor saying, "I'm not going to leave town. Newspapers have got to be around." His name was George Edgley. He died in 1990 in Dallas County. The associate producer was Edwin Tobolowsky. He went to University of Texas and SMU Law School. He actually argued a case in 1960 before the Supreme Court. The art director was Robert Dracup. He founded in 1961, co-founder of Theater 3 in Dallas, and he was also the art director on Pet Cemetery, or involved with it, that movie. The assistant camera person died in Irving, and the sound guy was from Dallas. So nearly every single person I can involved with this film was in Dallas, and it was filmed here. So, something to think about. We got a Dallas film there. It may be horrible, but it's Dallas horrible. Inside BB.
Well, thank you, Bill. What this suggests is that people involved in this movie ended up dying in Dallas or in Texas somewhere. Much like when they opened the mummy's tomb, I don't know, what was it? I don't know. One of the tombs, and then everybody died. Doom, death, and destruction. That's what this suggests. That's what I see here. Okay, next up. Anyone else have any comments? Please come in your call sign now.
Well, they were also born in Texas, Tom. I just mentioned when they died, but they were also born in Texas. Good night, in 5BB.
All right, thank you, Bill. Okay, here's the exciting list for next week's movie. And the week after that, we have Space Battleship Yamato from 2010. That's to next Saturday evening. And then a personal favorite of mine, I've already pre-reviewed this movie. I never do this, but I kind of liked it. Flight World War II. It's a time travel movie to World War II on a 757. And you know how much I love commercial aircraft. Not to fly on, but to admire. So next week's movie, Space Battleship Yamato from 2010. So if you would like to be a part of the list, send an email to me, Kilo Echo 5 India Charlie X-ray at yahoo.com. That's KE5ICX at yahoo.com. Or go to the Facebook page, Afterglow Movie. That's 2 words, Afterglow, and then movie, and say you would like to sign up. We'll put you on the list, and then you can find the movies there as well. We also have, let me reset. On Fridays at 8 o'clock, you can join us. We have various ways that we watch the movie together and then chat back and forth. We do that generally through Facebook, but we have other means available if you are there, so join us. I'm going to say 7-3 to everybody. Thank you. This is a lot of fun, as it always is. We'll see you next Saturday night. Be there or be triangular. See you later. This is KE5ICX, and I am out of here.
Tom, there's several things that are named Space Battleship Yamato. Which one is the thing that we're looking at? It was the English dubbed thing. It's anime and manga and other things.
Yes, I know. It's got a long legacy. It is the live-action film from 2010. I mentioned it. You should have written it down. Space Battleship Yamato, the live-action version from 2010. They have real actors in it, or people pretending to be actors.
I finally found the Japanese... Okay. I finally found it. Since it's a Japanese movie, is it dubbed?
I don't think so. I don't know. I've never seen it. This was recommended by one of our alumnus here that suggested it, so I don't know. I did a quick little view of it. I think it is English, so who knows? Maybe not. We'll find out.
Well, when I look at this, it was at least originally filmed in Japanese. And international distribution. So I don't know if it's dubbed or whether they re-recorded the voice. Well, I guess you got some kind of link for it. So we're doing Space Battleship Yamato next week, and the following week we're doing Flight World War II. Is that right?
Yes, and I just brought up the hot link, and it is an English dubbed movie. So for Space Battleship Yamato, it's in English, but it is dubbed from Japanese. And then yes, World War II. What did I call it? Flight World War II from 2015, which I personally like. It's a personally hateful film. I love it, and everybody else will hate it, but I like the 757. I think it's a 223, to be honest with you. But anyway, I just say it. KE5ICX.
Do we care? You probably know the roll sequence for how the tires, the order in which the tires leave the tarmac and the order in which they hit the tarmac when the plane lands, Tom. N5BB clear.
I think he's making fun of you, Tom. W29B.
I don't care. I have like 300 models of airplanes in the other room, so I'm okay with that.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. It was just a general comment because anytime a rocket takes off, you're always commenting about the roll sequence and the way the rocket goes up and comparing it to certain versions of the Saturn V and et cetera. You'd better start learning all the new launchers and how they launch and what the sequence is and the timing and how they roll because and you'd better learn the details of how SpaceX lands on that platform. I'm sure there's a trick to it. Anyway, see you in 5BB.
Hey, thank you, Bill. How do you know I'm not? Well, you don't. It's a rhetorical question. Don't worry. I am a constant student of minutia. Yeah, all right. Go ahead and pile it on me. Yeah, I'm good with that. No problem. This is KE5ICX.
Don't worry, Tom. Somebody has to understand how the different paint jobs on the Saturn V's were important to the program. And if somebody, you're seeing some recreation of something, whether they use the right rocket with the right paint job. I'm enjoying you, Tom. I'm not laughing at you. I'm just saying it's interesting. We're all nerds here. I mean, how many other people know that an 807 is a beer because it looks like an 807 vacuum tube? We're nerdy people here. Anyway, good night, N5BB. Too late here.
All right, Bill. Have a good evening. I'm going to the museum tomorrow. I have an unscheduled trip, so I'll go. I don't know what the hell I'll do there, but I'll have fun. Probably spending more time on the Apollo 7. I have found more things with that. I know more than any doggone, I don't know, curational on that damn thing. Okay, well, I'm still here if anybody wants to talk. This is KE5ICX. I'm awake. I had a nap for a change.
I'm not a nerd. I'm dashing and handsome. KG5ZNJ.
Frank, what have you been up to? You're like you're in the secret witness protection program or something. We haven't heard from you in a couple of months, so what's up? What's been going? How are you hanging? Do you still have that money you owe me?
Well, you know, it's this frickin' COVID stuff. You know, the effect it had on my kid is, you know, she's been out of school since March, and, well, you know how it is. Pretty soon their bedtime starts creeping up till, like, really late, and she always insists that, you know, I have to go to bed with her until she falls asleep, and it just so happens that her bedtime is moved up to, you know, the 10:30 slot, and I've just been very busy at work, too, so I don't really have time that much to watch the movies like I normally would. But I don't know, because school started again, now we're kind of getting back to normal a little bit, so I'll try to be around a little more. I miss it a lot. KG5ZNJ.
Well, we've missed you because you're the only one. You may be the only Canadian. Well, American, Canadian American, American, who knows, both the Star Spangled Banner and O Canada, and Hockey Night in Canada theme.
Well, I do have to represent the Dominion. There's not too many of us around. There's just not a whole lot of us, And, well, I'm working on the American thing. I'm hoping that it'll be in January, February, but, well, what can I say? KG57J.
You'll be a naturalized zombie in 5BB.
Bourgeois Canadian, because I lived over in Detroit, and we got CKLW, both the radio station and the television station. So we got Hockey Night in Canada all the time, with a great theme by that gal who wrote it. And close it. I didn't tell you this. My father was a big fan of hockey. He's still around, by the way, and he's still a big fan of hockey, except he's down in where the hell is it? Down on the coast. I can't remember where he lives with my mom, and I can't remember where she lives. They live together, but they're down there somewhere. And but they can't pick up hockey. My dad is a huge fan of hockey. So when the television would come on, we had Channel 50, Kaiser Broadcasting, and they would do hockey, but they'd have the cameras way up in the rafters. You couldn't see anything on a small television set, 17-inch screen.
I believe they're in Corpus Christi, aren't they? And Frank, can zombies be naturalized U.S. citizens in 5BB?
Well, I'm going to put in one of them complaints there with the Human Rights Tribunal thing, because, they give it to aliens, but they don't give it to zombies. And, Tom, I got a hockey story for you. Geez, this is my dad told me this one. Let me reset. All right. My grandfather was a professional hockey player. He played for a team called the Sons of Ireland. It's actually a real team. And he played for the Quebec Bulldogs, which these are teams before the NHL, right? But they were professional teams. And he was an old-time pro, we're talking, I don't know, World War I, or maybe, probably World War I-ish kind of thing was his heyday. So he was around when, pro hockey was a very, very small thing. And since he was an old-timer, he taught a lot of the younger generation how to play. And by younger generation, I'm talking guys in the 40s. And one day my father came home from school, and this was in Quebec City where they lived, and he had the book, the straps that have the books over his shoulders, and he jumped off the streetcar, and he ran home and went up the front porch and walked into the kitchen. And to his unbelievable surprise, you gotta know, my grandfather retired long before my dad was born, so my dad really didn't know much about it, about his old man being a pro hockey player. But in the kitchen, there was a bunch of guys, and the most famous one was Ted Lindsay, which was the Detroit Red Wings, right? And the entire line of the Detroit Red Wings, the scoring line as they used to call them, was in the kitchen, and they were all drinking whiskey and gin, and they were playing cards with my grandfather. And they were reset. And they had just won the Stanley Cup that year, so I'm thinking it was in the early 50s. Don't remember exactly, my dad told me, but his jaw just dropped. You can imagine the Stanley Cup champions in your kitchen, and they're just sitting around playing cards and drinking. The whole line is there. My father was absolutely awestruck, and he couldn't believe that my grandfather knew these guys, and it was because when they were all young, my grandfather had a big hand in teaching them how to be pros back in the day. So it's a really cool thing, and my dad got all their autographs, and he still has that today. So really cool. My dad's in his mid-80s now. Anyway, cool story, and anyway, it's neat. KG5ZNJ.
W5FC.
Oh, my dad would love to hear that. Ted Lindsay was one of his heroes. He loved that guy. Of course, they all love Gordie Howe too, and Phil Esposito and all those guys. It was really, oh, that's so cool. I didn't get to meet the guy, but he was at the next table at Ted's Chop House in Detroit when they were retiring Gordie Howell's number 9, and he was there with his sons. Was it two sons, also hockey players, over at Ted's Chop House. He was right next door. I didn't bother them. I should have probably, but that's even cooler. Very, very cool.
Yeah, my dad still is in awe that even happened, but they were in town because they were playing against whatever the team was at that time. It was probably still the Bulldogs back then. But yeah, it was, it's just a shock to just come home and you walk in your house and then, it's like as if half the guys on the Dallas Cowboys are in your kitchen when you come home and you're a kid. You don't understand why, so it's one of the most memorable things of his childhood, anyway. KG5, NJ.
Or tell you, and I can't remember what it was. Well, it's getting late. Who knows? KE5ICX.
Yeah, I'm gonna go pass out. I'm tired as heck. But I'll try to see you guys more often, man. KG5 NJ, 7-3s.
All right, see you later, Frank. See you, everybody else. And yes, my parents are down in Corpus Christi, so I couldn't remember either. I'm getting tired, although I did have a nap today, so I'm more awake than I am asleep, but not by much. See y'all later. This is KE5ICX. I'm clear as well. Bye-bye, and bye, bonds.